Chapter 2077. His face was filled with mockery. Jin Xing didn't put Longao in his eyes at all, because Jin Xing could clearly sense that Longao was still a Star Domain Lord and he hadn't made any breakthroughs in the past 3 years. Originally, based on Longao's talent and potential, he should have broken through to the Star Domain Lord realm in 3 years. It seemed like Longao's talent was only SOSO. Longao, you're courting death? Jin Xing. Longao smiled. He was certain that this place was extremely secluded. Even if there was an earth-shattering battle, it wouldn't attract any enemies. In the end, Jin Xing and the others were overconfident. Moreover, this was the headquarters of the heaven-devouring empire. Other than Longao, who else would dare to come here? They were simply courting death. The power of the star boundary on Jin Xing's body suddenly erupted, firmly suppressing Longao. Fine. Looking at the nonchalant Longao, Jin Xing's face finally changed. He didn't know why Longao could ignore his astral power. Could it be that Longao's cultivation had broken through to the Star Domain Lord realm? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. He could clearly sense that the aura released from Longao's body belonged to the Starry Sky Domain Lord. How could he become the Starry Sky Domain Lord? Moreover, Longao was still the Starry Sky Domain Lord 3 years ago. Even if he had extraordinary talent, it was impossible for him to break through from the Starry Sky Domain Lord to the Starry Sky Domain Lord in just 3 years. Longao, you don't have to bluff here. I know your situation very well. Is that so? Just as he finished speaking, a dragon roar suddenly sounded and the world-destroying Mad Dragon's huge body appeared in Heaven's End Cliff. World-destroying Mad Dragon? Jin Xing found it hard to believe, because he knew what the world-destroying Mad Dragon meant. The world-destroying Mad Dragon looked at Jin Xing with contempt and started attacking him. One man and one beast, 2 Star Domain Lords clashed fiercely. The World Annihilation Mad Dragon's main body was stronger than Jin Xing. Now that it had been refined into a Starry Sky Corpse slave, its strength was still far above Jin Xing's. If this situation continued, Jin Xing would undoubtedly die. Jin Xing was forced to retreat. Longao, it's me. He could not be bothered with Jin Xing. This time, after entering Heaven's End Cliff, Longao had already made up his mind to kill Jin Xing. If you don't remove the roots when you cut the weeds, they will grow again when the spring breeze blows. Especially under such circumstances, there would be one less person to kill. No matter what. Longao was very clear in his heart that according to the grievances between him and the Empire, it had already reached the point where it was either you die or I die. As the battle continued to escalate, Jin Xing found it harder and harder to resist. Crack. The sound of ribs breaking could be heard. The world-destroying Mad Dragon did not have the slightest bit of emotion as it charged towards Jin Xing. Ah! Jin Xing was in complete despair. He had never imagined that he would die here. This was the headquarters of the heaven-devouring empire. Where did Longao find this world-destroying Mad Dragon? He could not figure it out. He really could not figure it out. However, there was no time for Jin Xing to think. The world-destroying Mad Dragon's attacks were too crazy. Wave after wave, it was like a landslide. Longao, there is no grudge between us. Why do you have to do this? In the end, Jin Xing decided to compromise. In his opinion, as long as he could leave Heaven's End Cliff, it would not be a problem for the heaven-devouring empire to kill Longao. After all, the world-destroying Mad Dragon was nothing to the heaven-devouring empire. Not only did the heaven-devouring empire have hundreds of Star Domain Lords, but there was also a Star Domain King. No matter how strong the world-destroying Mad Dragon was, it could not be stronger than a Star Domain King. However, Jin Xing still underestimated the world-destroying Mad Dragon. It didn't have the slightest consciousness. Its only consciousness was to accept orders. Now that Longao's order was to kill Jin Xing, how could the world-destroying Mad Dragon relax its attack? What should I do? What should I do? Am I really going to die in Heaven's End Cliff? What a tragedy, what a joke! Jin Xing was in an extremely tragic situation. However, there was also a trace of despair in his heart. Although he could still defend against the world-destroying Mad Dragon's attacks, he would definitely die if the situation continued. The world-destroying Mad Dragon was too strong. Even if there was another Jin Xing, they might not be a match for the world-destroying Mad Dragon. Not only that, Jin Xing started to feel that something was wrong. He could clearly sense that the world-destroying Mad Dragon did not seem to have any consciousness. Even if he attacked it, it would not hurt or itch. When did the world-destroying Mad Dragon's physical defense become so strong? At this moment, Jin Xing finally understood why Longao dared to come to the heaven-devouring empire alone and enter Heaven's End Cliff. It turned out that he had something to rely on. With the help of a super expert like the world-destroying Mad Dragon, even the heaven-devouring empire would not dare to make an enemy out of Longao. However, for the sake of the empire's reputation and the third prince, there was no way the empire would let Longao go. He had become a sacrificial lamb. He had provoked Longao for no reason. Now, he was in his own territory. If he was killed by Longao, he would become a laughingstock if news of this were to spread. A dignified Starry Sky Realm Lord was killed by Longao in the heaven-devouring empire's End Cliff. What kind of situation was this? I can't die, I definitely can't die. As long as I leave Heaven's End Cliff, I won't die. Thinking of this, Jin Xing started to attack the world-destroying Mad Dragon madly. The world-destroying Mad Dragon did not know pain, but Jin Xing could not do the same. As the battle escalated, he could not figure out how the other party was doing it. Could it be that his attacks weren't strong enough? Jin Xing was clear about the strength of his attacks. No matter who it was, no one would dare to take it head-on. If that was the case, not only was the world-destroying Mad Dragon strong, even its physical defense was way beyond Jin Xing's knowledge. A world-destroying Mad Dragon, as such, was an invincible existence amongst the Starry Sky Realm Lords. It was hard to imagine that other than the Starry Sky Realm King, who else could be a match for the world-destroying Mad Dragon. Since his attacks were useless, Jin Xing was getting beaten up everywhere. As time passed, Jin Xing started to weaken. Crack, crack. Being attacked continuously, Jin Xing's body was sent flying. Would the world-destroying Mad Dragon let Jin Xing off? Without a doubt, the world-destroying Mad Dragon was now a corpse slave of the Starry Sky. It would only listen to the orders of Longao alone. Once again, it lunged towards Jin Xing, who was powerless to resist. This time around, Jin Xing was dead for sure. Just as Longao was filled with joy and Jin Xing was waiting for death in despair, the situation changed. A horrifying realm power descended. It was the Astral Realm, a power that belonged to the Starry Sky Realm Lord. Chapter 2078. Your Majesty, save me! Your Majesty? Could it be the Emperor of the Heaven-Devouring Empire? Longao could sense that this powerful astral domain was released by a Starry Sky Realm King. The World Annihilation Mad Dragon was frozen in place, motionless in mid-air. In the next second, three figures appeared. Seeing the three of them, Jin Xing was pleasantly surprised. He hurried to the back of the three and said, "Your Majesty, this is Longao, the one who killed the third prince." The three of them were none other than the three titled world kings of the heaven-devouring empire. The Emperor of the heaven-devouring empire, Shun Ting, and the two grand elders were Shun He and Shun Zhuo. Without a doubt, the three of them were powerful titled world kings. "You are Longao?" "Yes." Longao was afraid and didn't dare to move. Even if he entered the dragon seal space, he couldn't move casually. This was because he didn't know how powerful a titled world king was. He only had one chance. If he missed it, the consequences would be unimaginable. "You're not bad." Instead of getting angry, Shen Ting smiled. He looked at the two people beside him and said, "What can you see?" This child isn't a reincarnation. This child's talent isn't as simple as we thought. What did that mean? Jin Xing was a little confused. According to his calculations, the emperor would definitely attack Longao as soon as he saw him. After all, the emperor's son, the third prince, had died in Longao's hands 3 years ago. The grudge of his son's death was irreconcilable. Longao, if you're willing to join my heaven-devouring empire, we'll write off all our grudges. How about it? Ah? Hearing Shen Ting's words, Jin Xing was dumbfounded. He didn't know what the emperor meant. However, under such circumstances, Jin Xing didn't dare to say anything. Longao was also a little surprised. The grudge of his son's death was irreconcilable. Since that was the case, what did the emperor mean? Longao, His Majesty is asking if you're willing to join the empire? The two grand elders on the left and right were clearly not as easy to talk to as Shunting. Their faces were filled with indifference and disdain. However, it wasn't a big deal. After all, both of them were titled world kings. Let alone a Starry Sky Domain Master, even a Starry Sky Domain Master was nothing in their eyes. Do you think I'll agree? Regardless of whether the other party was sincere in inviting him to join, Longao would not agree. I gave you face, but you didn't want it, Shenjua said coldly. In the next second, a terrifying astral domain instantly suppressed Longao. Longao was directly suppressed to the point where he knelt on one knee, but he still managed to withstand it. The three of them were a little surprised, because they'd never imagined that a tiny region lord would actually be able to resist the suppression of an astral domain. Ha ha, Longao, you really surprised me. Shen Ting suddenly laughed. I really admire you. You have two choices. Either you submit or you die. You're a smart person. I believe you'll make the right choice. For some reason, Longao had a feeling that the heaven-devouring empire's emperor was sincerely inviting him to join the empire. One had to know that he had killed the third prince, Shenfeng. Shen Ting and Shen Ting were in a situation where one of them had to die. It wasn't hard to imagine how powerful Shen Ting was. In order to recruit talents, he was even willing to put down his son's hatred. Longao admired Shen Ting, but after thinking about it, he understood. If it wasn't for Shen Ting's talent, he wouldn't have been able to lead such a huge empire. It was easy to imagine how powerful the ruler of tens of thousands of realms was. Longao didn't say anything. Shen Ting didn't say anything. The other three didn't say anything either. Jin Xing's expression changed again and again. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. Everything was fine, but His Majesty actually wanted to recruit Longao. Right now, Jin Xing was terrified to the extreme. With Longao's current strength, he naturally wasn't afraid. The only thing he was afraid of was the world annihilation berserk dragon. With such a dangerous existence, who knew when Longao would make his move? As for Shunting, the reason he wanted to recruit Longao wasn't because of Longao's strength or talent. No matter what, there were monstrous geniuses everywhere in the universe. With the strength of the heaven-devouring empire, even if he didn't say anything, there would be many people coming over. The biggest reason was Longao's secret technique to refine his Yuan spirit. Putting aside the third prince, how could the world annihilation berserk dragon hide from the three of them? The three of them could tell that the world annihilation berserk dragon didn't have any consciousness. Its Yuan spirit had been refined and it was forcefully moving its body. Such a secret technique was heaven-defying. If the Empire could obtain such a secret technique, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. However, Shen Ting knew that it was impossible to obtain the secret technique. Rather than destroying Longao, it was better to recruit Longao. This way they could obtain the secret technique, which would be beneficial to the Empire. Shen Ting was an ambitious and ruthless character. If it was someone else, how could they possibly recruit the murderer of their son in front of them? The three of them were waiting for Longao's choice. Shen Ting was already prepared. If Longao chose to join the Empire, then the grudge between them would be written off. He wouldn't obstruct the Empire's development over the death of a son. If Longao chose to refuse to join the Empire, then they absolutely couldn't let him live. Even if they couldn't obtain the secret technique to refine his Yuan spirit, they absolutely couldn't let him live. They had to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots to prevent future troubles. In fact, Longao's secret technique to refine Yuan spirit was also present in the vast starry sky. However, it wasn't as powerful and abnormal as Longao's. It was completely imaginable that even Shunting was tempted. This was enough to show how abnormal the secret technique to refine Yuan spirit was. They didn't know that this secret technique didn't belong to Longao, but to Long Fu and Longao. This was Longao's biggest secret. Except for a few people, it was impossible for others to know about it. Longao definitely wouldn't agree. Thus, if he refused, then Shunting and the others wouldn't let him off. The reason why Longao chose to remain silent was because he wanted to think of a way to escape unscathed. As for Longing, Longao didn't dare to casually enter. This was because he wasn't sure if Shunting and the others could lock onto Longying's position. If he stepped into Longying's space and the three of them locked onto him, then he would be in big trouble. Longao didn't even dare to communicate with Long Fu. After all, he still didn't know how strong a titled world king was. Before he had absolute confidence, he wasn't willing to take the risk. Shunting and the others didn't rush him. Instead, they calmly waited. "Jin Xing, are you all right?" "Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. I'm fine." In front of three powerful titled world kings, even Jin Xing had to be respectful and respectful. P.S. I've rested for a few days. Thank you for your understanding and support. Tomorrow I'll explode with 10 chapters. Chapter 2079. He only smiled. Chunting was very polite to the Starry Sky World Lord because he knew that the Starry Sky World Lord was the greatest asset of the heaven-devouring empire. "My apologies." 4 simple words were enough to express Longao's intention. Chunting didn't show any anger as he seemed to have guessed the other party's intention. Kill. Just now, Chunting had made it very clear that there were only 2 choices. Either they chose to submit or they chose to die. In the next second, Longao prepared to enter the Dragon Seal space. After thinking about it, entering the Dragon Seal space was the safest option. As long as he could enter, he would be completely safe. But the result? 3 terrifying astral domains instantly enveloped Longao. Before he could enter the Dragon Seal space, he was forcefully separated by the astral domains. As expected, Longao had already guessed that he couldn't enter the Dragon Seal space. After all, a titled world king was too strong. Spatial divine item. Chunting sneered. Just as the 3 of them were about to attack, Longao took a step forward and arrived in front of the cliff. "Longao, I want to remind you, no matter who it is, as long as you jump down from the cliff, you will definitely die." Chunting and the other 2 laughed. They knew very well what a 10,000-foot tall cliff meant. Even they did not dare to casually step into the bottom of the cliff. In the past, there was a titled World King Senior in the heaven-devouring empire who jumped down out of curiosity. No one knew if he was alive or dead. Even now, no one knew if he was dead or alive. It was because of this that the cliff became a forbidden area in the heaven-devouring empire. No one was allowed to step into the cliff. Heaven's End Cliff wasn't just a place where Jin Xing cultivated, it was also a place he guarded. A Starry Sky World Lord guarding this place was enough to prove how important it was to the heaven-devouring empire. Without a second word, Longao turned around and jumped down the cliff, disappearing without a trace. "Your Majesty, what should we do now?" "Jin Xing, guard this place. If Longao comes out alive, inform us immediately." "Yes." Shunting was actually very clear in his heart. Longao jumping into the bottomless abyss, the chances of survival were virtually 0. Heaven's End Cliff. A bottomless abyss. Longao fell unconscious before he even landed on the ground. It turned out that the cold current in the bottomless abyss was simply too terrifying. Even if his cultivation base had broken through to the cosmic domain lord realm, he still wouldn't be able to endure it. Time trickled by. As he slowly woke up, Longao felt a splitting headache, as if his head was about to explode. Where was this? Longao was more or less relieved in his heart. No matter what, having intuition meant that he had not fallen yet. He endured the bursts of pain coming from his body, slowly stood up, and began to look at the surrounding environment. This was a dark space. The surroundings were gray and misty, and one couldn't see the end of it. Therefore, one couldn't tell how big this dark space was. There were corpses everywhere, piled up like mountains and scattered everywhere. A strange and terrifying aura enveloped the entire area. Perhaps it was because of the extreme pain. Longao staggered and almost fell. However, he still sat down limply, feeling weak all over. It was as if someone had sucked him dry. What is this smell? All of a sudden, Longao smelled a very pungent smell. Looking over, in the dim and gloomy space, there was a huge blood pool not far away. Inside, there was blood bubbling nonstop. What was this? Longao stood up and slowly approached the blood pool. If it was under normal circumstances, with Longao's speed, he would only need a single step to reach it. However, after being seriously injured, it took him tens of minutes to walk a single step. One could imagine how serious Longao's injuries were. The blood pool was hundreds of square meters in size, and there were blood-red bubbles everywhere. Gulp, gulp, gulp. Huge blood bubbles intertwined with each other and constantly collided with each other, producing extremely ear-piercing sounds. Staring at the blood pool in front of him, the ear-piercing sounds came one after another. Strange, the blood pool was very strange. Longao did not dare to get close to the blood pool. He could clearly sense the danger from it. Sitting on the ground, he began to recuperate. Although the injury was serious, Longao had full confidence that at most 3 days' time, his injury could be more or less recovered. As for whether or not there was any danger here, he did not know. Crack, crack, crack. Just as Longao was fully focused on his cultivation, corpses and skeletons appeared from the blood pool one after another. Before long, countless corpses and skeletons appeared and rushed towards Longao crazily. Suddenly opening his eyes, Longao's complexion also changed. Because the blood-colored skeletons constantly appeared around him. They were like killing tools. At the same time, they crazily rushed towards him. At the same time, their bodies also released a terrifying bloody aura. Not to mention the strength of the corpses and skeletons, just the blood aura alone was enough to make Longao unable to withstand it. He hurriedly left. But before he could even get up, he was already trapped by the aura of the blood pool and was rooted to the ground. Was he really going to die here? Of course not. But Longao suddenly recalled Shin Ting's words back at Heaven's End Cliff. No matter who it was, as long as they stepped into the cliff, they would definitely die. Seemed like this space he was in wasn't that simple after all. The reincarnation sword appeared in his right hand as he slashed out at the corpses around him. Sword chi followed by sword chi was relentless. It was none other than the reincarnation lightning strike. The blood mist around him might have been fatal to others, but to Longao it did not have much of an effect. The reincarnation sword chi directly broke through the blood-colored shroud. Longao quickly flew towards the distance. However, there were blood-colored skeletons everywhere. In the blink of an eye, they had already surrounded Longao. It was either you die or I die. As Longao dodged continuously, the reincarnation sword in his hand slashed out reincarnation sword chi continuously. The defense of the corpses was extremely weak, and could not withstand the killing power of the reincarnation sword chi. A single sword could kill dozens of corpses instantly. But even so, what could he do? The endless blood-colored skeletons were like locusts that filled the sky. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Longao knew that it was impossible to destroy all the blood-colored skeletons by relying on his own strength. If this continued, he would only have a dead end. The eruption point was still the blood pool. Longao once again used the reincarnation lightning strike. Sword chi followed by sword chi rapidly slashed towards the blood pool. However, because of the countless corpses emerging from the blood pool, the sword chi could only destroy the corpses at most. Could not get close to the blood pool. So, how could he destroy the blood pool? Chapter 2080. The blood pool was like a bottomless pit. Countless blood-colored skeletons kept coming out. One after another, they emitted the smell of blood and kept coming towards Longao. The reincarnation sword in his hand kept slashing, and the blood-colored skeletons kept falling and disappearing. There were too many. What should he do? The situation was critical. Life and death were at stake. In the next second, a man and a dragon suddenly appeared. It was the 2 Starry Sky Corps slaves. According to Long Fu's previous plan, he was going to fuse the 7-star bead with the world-destroying Mad Dragon, but in the end, he still chose to fuse with the Universe Realm Lord. Now that the 2 Starry Sky Corps slaves joined forces, no one under the Starry Sky Realm King was their opponent. Not to mention the 2 Starry Sky Corps slaves joining forces, even if any one of them came out, no one would be able to contend against it. This was the strength of the Starry Sky Realm Lord Corps slaves. The 2 Starry Sky Corps slaves, one on the left and one on the right, guarded Longao tightly. The surrounding blood-colored skeletons were like moths to a flame. They couldn't get close at all. After stabilizing, Longao didn't sit still and wait for death. Because according to the situation, even if he had the help of the 2 Starry Sky Corps slaves, he couldn't go on like this. He had to find a way to leave this place. With the help of the 2 Starry Sky Corps slaves, Longao walked in a direction not far away. The blood-colored corpse slaves finally stopped attacking. It seemed that they couldn't be too far away from the blood pool. World-destroying Mad Dragon, take me up! On the back of the world-destroying Mad Dragon, a dragon roar resounded through the world. Then, the man and the dragon flew towards Heaven's End Cliff. Was the blood pool the only danger in the cliff? Longao didn't know that he fell into the cliff this time because of a rare stroke of luck. If it was a normal time, the blood-colored skeletons in the blood pool wouldn't be so fragile and easily destroyed. Thinking about the titled world kings of the past, only death awaited them when they entered the cliff. Heaven's End Cliff. Jin Xing didn't dare to take a step away. Although he knew that those who entered the cliff had almost no chance of survival, no one could guarantee that Longao had really fallen in the cliff. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Longao didn't die, it would be a huge problem for him. Just when Jin Xing thought that Longao was dead, a dragon roar resounded through Heaven's End. He was shocked. Jin Xing's expression changed completely because he could clearly sense the terrifying dragon breath released by the devastator Mad Dragon. As expected, Longao was still alive. Impossible. Although he didn't want to believe it, the truth was right in front of him. He had to believe it. Jin Xing did not dare to stay any longer. He immediately turned around and prepared to leave. And the result? The Universe Realm Lord had already blocked Jin Xing's path. There were wolves in front and tigers in the back. It was almost impossible for Jin Xing to escape Heaven's Edge. Chen Ting and the other 2 wouldn't appear either. From their point of view, since Longao had already jumped off the cliff, he was dead for sure. Universe Realm Lord? Looking at the corpse slave in front of him, Jin Xing was completely stunned. He really couldn't understand why the Universe Realm Lord, who had already fallen, would suddenly appear here, alive and kicking. Submit to Longao? Before Jin Xing could recover from his shock, the Universe Realm Master had already begun his frenzied attack. A corpse slave that had fused with the 7-star bead, let alone a Starry Sky Realm Master. Even a Starry Sky Realm King wouldn't be able to destroy it easily. The Devastator Mad Dragon had already brought Longao to Heaven's End. The World Annihilation Berserk Dragon and the Universe Realm Lord attacked from the left and right, launching frenzied attacks. The result was obvious. Fighting 1 against 2, unless Jin Xing had 3 heads and 6 arms, in just a few minutes, Jin Xing was completely killed. The 2 corpse slaves disappeared. Looking at the corpse on the ground, Longao suddenly sneered. The next day dawned. Ah! This is Elder Jin Xing? Looking at the corpse hanging in front of the heaven-devouring empire, everyone was stunned. Their faces were filled with disbelief because Jin Xing, an elder of the heaven-devouring empire and a universe realm lord, had actually died here. Jin Xing's corpse soon shook the entire heaven-devouring empire. Shen Ting and the other 2 hurried over. Looking at the corpse that had already been placed on the ground, their faces were extremely ugly. Because the 3 of them had already guessed that Jin Xing's death, if nothing unexpected happened, should be related to Longao. Although they weren't willing to believe it, their instincts told them that Longao didn't die after falling down the cliff. If they hadn't seen Jin Xing's corpse hanging in the air, they wouldn't have believed that Longao was still alive. It was unbelievable, truly unbelievable. Your Majesty, Longao is provoking the Empire. If we don't kill him, the Empire's reputation will be tarnished. Shen Ting nodded and said coldly, since this brat wants to die, we'll fulfill his wish. The 2 of you make the arrangements. Anyone who can kill Longao will not only become the disciple of one of you, but also receive the full support of the Empire. Yes. The 2 of them didn't say anything else. The moment this news spread, the entire heaven-devouring plain was in an uproar. This was because whether it was Shen Zhuo or Shen He, both of them were genuine titled world kings. If one could become their disciple, it was easy to imagine what that meant. Not only that, if they could kill Longao, they could also get the full support of the Empire. This kind of temptation was too great. No matter who it was, they couldn't resist it. Just like this, everyone began to look for Longao's traces. However, no one would have guessed that Longao was actually in the headquarters of the heaven-devouring empire. It was the most dangerous place, but it was also the safest place. After killing Jin Xing, he actually dared to stay. He was truly someone who wasn't afraid of death. Brother Black Wolf, have you heard? 3 years ago, Longao actually came to the heaven-devouring plain and even killed Elder Jin Xing. Even under the joint attack of 3 titled world kings, he still managed to escape unscathed. It's truly unbelievable. He's simply my idol. Looking at Yezi's intoxicated expression, Longao almost laughed out loud. If Yezi knew that the idol he worshipped was actually standing beside him, who knows what this Yezi brother would think. Yi, I'd like to ask, how many titled world kings are there in our empire? There was a huge difference between a Starry Sky World King and a Starry Sky World King. It could be said that a titled world king could fight against 10 Starry Sky World Kings. Yi thought for a moment and said, I don't know the exact number, but there should be at least 4. 4 titled world kings? He had already met 3 titled world kings. Other than the Emperor, there were also 2 elders. It seemed like the heaven-devouring empire wasn't as simple as he thought. Yi Zifeng knew that there were 4 titled world kings in the empire. P.S. I had something to do today. I just got home. This is the 2nd chapter. Little 9 is going all out. He will definitely deliver the remaining 8 chapters tonight. Chapter 2081. Brother Black Wolf, you and I have to work hard and strive to become important figures. At that time, we might even be able to enter the tutelage of a titled world king. Ye's face was filled with yearning. Yi, aren't you going to chase after Longao? Longao's meaning was clear. How could Yi not understand? Without even thinking about it, Yezi had already replied, I just said that Longao is my idol. How can I make a move on my idol? Yi smiled and continued, since Longao was able to kill Jin Xing, his strength is enough. Unless it's a Starry Sky Realm King, no matter who it is, there's only death waiting for them. It was shocking. Longao didn't expect Yi to see through it so clearly. It was such a simple question, but many people couldn't understand it. Longao was also very puzzled. Could it be that the people who were chasing after him were all idiots? Since he could kill Jin Xing, how could the others be his match? One had to know that Jin Xing was a true Starry Sky Realm King. Brother Black Wolf, do you admire Senior Longao? Yes, I admire him. Under the huge temptation, many people began to frantically search for Longao's traces. However, no one would have thought that the target they were looking for was actually in the devouring Heaven Empire. In the huge palace, Chen Ting sat on the main seat with a cold expression. The killing intent on his body was so strong that it seemed to have materialized, enveloping a certain corner of the hall. Other than Chen Ting, the two grand elders were also present. There were also various elders and protectors. There were at least 20 people in the hall. If Longao was here, he would definitely be shocked. Because among the 20 people in the hall, other than Chen Ting and the other two, the rest were all Starry Sky Realm Kings. In other words, all 20 of them were Starry Sky Realm Kings. One could imagine how powerful the devouring Heaven Empire was. Chen Ting didn't speak. No one dared to speak. The entire hall was incomparably silent. How's the matter? Chen Ting's voice was very calm, without a trace of anger. However, everyone present knew very well that the more His Majesty acted like this, the more terrifying it was. Because everyone knew that His Majesty was truly angry now. Shunjua said helplessly, Your Majesty, Longao has a spatial artifact. It won't be easy for us to find this person. Every minute that was delayed was a blow to the Empire's reputation. Such a thing had never happened in the heaven-devouring Empire for countless years. Humiliation. It was a great humiliation. As the most powerful emperor of the heaven-devouring Empire, how could Chen Ting allow such a thing to happen in his territory? That was why Longao had to die. Find him. No matter what price we have to pay, we have to find him. You? Before Chen Ting could finish speaking, Longao's voice came from the hall. Was he hallucinating? Everyone laughed, including Chen Ting. It seemed that everyone wanted to kill Longao so much that they were actually hallucinating. It was really a funny thing. Chen Ting, as the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire, you're helpless after being humiliated like this. If I were you, I would buy 2 pounds of tofu and slowly kill myself. For trash like you, living in this world is a waste of air. It's a tragedy for the heaven-devouring empire, a tragedy for the heaven-devouring plane. It was indeed Longao's voice. Everyone was thoroughly shocked. They looked all around and tried to sense where Longao was, but the final result was that no one present, including the 3 Starry Sky titled World Kings, were able to lock onto his exact position. Could it be because of the spatial artifact? In the beginning, Longao wasn't sure if the Starry Sky World Kings or titled World Kings would be able to locate him once he stepped into the Dragon Seal space. However, Long Fu told him that he didn't have to worry because he was confident that as long as he stepped into the Dragon Seal space, even Chen Ting wouldn't be able to locate him. It was true. Longao had already entered the main hall and entered the Dragon Seal space in advance. After all, with so many super experts around, even he didn't dare to move recklessly. If he was located, wouldn't it be like trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it? Longao, if you're a man, come out. Why do you have to be so sneaky? You're as timid as a mouse. Why should I come out? Do you want to bully me with numbers? But thinking about it, Chen Ting and the other 2 also bullied me with numbers. This is the heaven-devouring empire. It's really better to meet them in person than to hear about them. Admirable, admirable. Humiliation. Longao knew his own limit. Not to mention 1 against 20, even if it was 1 against 1, he wouldn't be a match for them. Even if he wasn't a match for them, he would still anger them to death. Everyone released their astral domains and intertwined them, hoping to locate the spatial artifact in the shortest time possible and lock onto Longao. The result? Any one of the 20 people in the main hall could shake the vast starry sky. But now, even if these super experts joined forces, they still couldn't lock onto Longao's position. Humiliation. To the Starry Sky Realm Kings and titled Realm Kings, this was a humiliation. If this matter were to spread out, where would their face go? No one continued to speak nonsense. If Longao still managed to escape this time, it would be an utter disgrace. The entire main hall was suppressed by more than 20 astral domains. Even if it was Longao, it was almost impossible for him to leave the main hall. Under such circumstances, both sides were competing to see who would give up first. The entire main hall became silent as the 20 Starry Sky Realm Kings locked onto Longao's position with all their might. Unknowingly, 3 days had passed. But in the end, no matter what method Chen Ting and the others came up with, they still couldn't lock onto Longao's position. Not only that, none of the 20 people present knew whether Longao was still in the main hall. If Longao had already left, wouldn't they have wasted their time? They felt helpless. If they hadn't experienced it themselves, they would have found it hard to believe that a puny Starry Sky Domain Lord could escape the lock-on of more than 20 Starry Sky Realm Kings with the help of a spatial artifact. Was this true? It was unimaginable and unbelievable. Although they didn't want to believe it, the truth was right in front of their eyes. They had no choice but to believe it. In addition, many people were very greedy because Longao could escape the lock-on of the Starry Sky Realm Kings with the help of a spatial artifact. This was enough to prove how powerful this spatial artifact was. If they could obtain it, wouldn't they be like a tiger that had grown wings? Anger. Endless anger. Chen Ting didn't know if it was because he was too angry, but his body began to tremble slightly. When had he ever encountered such a situation? P.S. The 3rd chapter has been delivered. Little 9 will stay up late tonight and deliver the remaining 7 chapters before going to sleep. Chapter 2082. Under such circumstances, no one dared to speak. It was still unknown whether Longao was still in the hall or not. Let's all leave. Your Majesty, I can sense that Longao is still here. Here? So what if he's here? Chen Ting felt helpless. It was as if he had aged a lot. Ever since he became the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire, this was the first time something like this had happened. There was no way he could hide this matter. He was certain that if this matter were to spread, the reputation of the heaven-devouring empire would be completely destroyed. Before long. Other than Chen Ting, everyone had left. Only Chen Ting was left in the huge hall. Longao, I know you haven't left. Come out, we can talk. Chen Ting was certain that Longao was still in the spatial artifact. Although he didn't know how Longao did it, the truth was right in front of him. Such a spatial artifact was too powerful. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe. Why should I come out? Listening to the voices coming from all around, Chen Ting sighed deeply. This was the first time he had seen something like this in countless years. Longao, come out. I won't kill you. Why should I believe you? None of you from the heaven-devouring empire keep your promises. Longao wasn't a fool. He wouldn't casually come out. No matter what, Chen Ting was a titled world king. Even if he had full confidence, he wouldn't be Chen Ting's opponent. If he left the dragon seal space, he would be enveloped by the astral domain. At that time, it wouldn't be realistic for him to enter again. He definitely wouldn't come out. Longao, I can guarantee that I won't attack you in the hall. Chen Ting swore a blood oath. A blood oath was useful to any cultivator, even a titled world king. Just as Chen Ting finished his blood oath, Longao appeared. Your Majesty, it's been a few days. You seem a little old. Of all people, this was a sore spot. Chunting was helpless to the extreme. How could he not grow old after encountering such a situation? Seemingly not wanting to dwell on this issue, Chunting said, Longao, you killed my son. I've already made a concession. As long as you're willing to join the Empire, I can let bygones be bygones. It's still valid now. Chunting was still unwilling to kill Longao. The reason was simple. He didn't care about Longao's life at all. The only thing he cared about was the secret techniques and treasures on Longao's body. If he could obtain it, then he would be invincible among those of the same level. How could Longao not know what Chunting meant? He sneered in his heart. Chunting, we're both smart people. There's no need for this. I killed Shinfeng because he asked for it. If you're willing to stop, I have no objections. However, I won't join the heaven-devouring empire. If the heaven-devouring empire was willing to give up, it would be a good thing for them to forget about their grudges. The reason Longao took the initiative to attack was because he was worried that the heaven-devouring empire would play dirty tricks behind his back. Do you think it's okay? No. That's why there's no need for us to talk. We'll rely on our own abilities. I won't have any complaints if I die. However, Chunting, you must remember that even if I die, I'll drag the heaven-devouring empire down with me. With just you? Looking at Longao's confident face, Chunting did not know why, but he had a very bad premonition in his heart. The more the other party was like this, the more uncertain he was in his heart. What exactly gave Longao such great confidence to be so fearless? In the vast universe, there weren't many people who dared to go against the heaven-devouring empire. Not to mention individuals, even other empires wouldn't casually go against the heaven-devouring empire unless they had no other choice. Are you afraid? Chunting wasn't afraid. If he was alone, he couldn't care less about Longao. As the saying went, a barefooted person wouldn't be afraid of someone wearing shoes. The heaven-devouring empire was huge. If Longao insisted on assassinating the heaven-devouring empire, it would be troublesome. A mere universal domain lord had caused so much trouble for the heaven-devouring empire. Chunting couldn't wait to tear Longao into pieces. However, he had already made a blood oath, so he wouldn't do it now. He also wanted to see how Longao would enter the spatial artifact. Seeing that Chunting wasn't speaking, Longao slowly walked to the chair and sat down. He picked up the teacup on the table and drank it in one gulp. It was as though he had returned to his own home. This calmness wasn't something many people could compare to. The hall fell into silence. Neither Chunting nor Longao spoke. Both of them had their own thoughts, after an unknown period of time. Chunting, I have a condition. As long as you agree to it, I'll agree to join the heaven-devouring empire. What do you think? Tell me. It's simple. I want all the resources of the heaven-devouring empire to help me. I believe you can sense that I'm still a universal domain lord. Therefore, I hope to break through to the universal domain lord realm as soon as possible. I believe you won't object. Won't object? Before Chunting could speak, Longao continued, In this world, there are no eternal friends or eternal enemies. Chunting, I can see that you're an ambitious person. You won't make the wrong decision. Chunting laughed. He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen such an arrogant person. If Longao's words were to spread, no one would believe him. He dared to make such a condition with the heaven-devouring empire's emperor. It was as though the heaven-devouring empire was the one benefiting from it. Longao, if I give my all to nurture you, what if you betray me in the future? Chunting wasn't a fool. Even though Longao's talent wasn't the best, he knew what would happen if he was nurtured by the heaven-devouring empire. What's more, Longao had so many secrets and was already so difficult to deal with now. When Longao's cultivation broke through to the Starry Sky Realm Lord, or even the Starry Sky Realm King, wouldn't it be even harder to deal with him? Without full confidence, Shen Ting wouldn't invest. This was a joke. He didn't know what Longao was thinking. Did Longao think that he and the heaven-devouring empire were fools? Longao, how can I trust you? It's simple. My character is a guarantee. You can be rest assured. Shen Ting suddenly laughed. Longao, you're an interesting person. Alright, I'll give you a chance. As long as you can complete this task, I'll agree to your conditions. From now on, I'll nurture you with all my might. What's the matter? It was obvious that Shen Ting's request wasn't simple. However, if he could obtain the full support of the heaven-devouring empire, he might be able to break through to the universal domain Lord Realm. Chapter 2083. He smiled. Shen Ting looked at the youth in front of him and said, Longao, as long as you can obtain the Qilin blood for the empire, I will do my best to nurture you. Qilin blood? Things definitely weren't that simple. Longao didn't say anything because he knew that Shen Ting hadn't finished speaking. If you want to get what you want, you have to pay the price. What do you think? Tell me. An hour later. Longao already knew everything about this Starry Sky Qilin. This Qilin was a titled world king. Even if Shen Ting and the other two joined forces, they still wouldn't be a match for this Qilin. As for the Qilin blood, it was a supreme treasure. Longao was also depressed to the extreme. Shen Ting wanted to kill him with a borrowed knife. With his own strength, how could he be a match for the Qilin? Not to mention, he had obtained the Qilin blood. Leaving the hall. Your Majesty, will Longao go? No matter if he goes or not, this child must be eliminated. Shen Ting was still very afraid of Longao. It wasn't because of his talent, but because of his mysteriousness. In Shen Ting's opinion, Longao was too mysterious. Often, mysterious things were more terrifying. Your Majesty, we will go now. Kill him in one strike. Shenjua and Shen, he were very clear about His Majesty's meaning. Longao's spatial artifact was too powerful. If they couldn't hit him with one hit, then once Longao ran away, it wouldn't be easy to continue to control Longao. Titled World King Qilin. According to Shen Ting, this legendary titled World King Qilin wasn't anywhere else but the Devouring Sky Plain. The Devouring Sky Plain's largest forbidden land, Death Valley. According to legends, no matter who stepped into Death Valley, they would die without a doubt. Even a titled world king didn't dare to casually enter. The reason was simple. Within Death Valley, there was a titled world king Qilin. The Starry Sky Qilin was known as one of the most powerful divine beasts in the vast universe. In particular, the blood of the Starry Sky Qilin was a top-grade treasure, no matter what it was used for. It was especially beneficial to the cultivation of a martialist. Longao naturally knew Shen Ting's intentions. From the beginning to the end, he had never intended to join the heaven-devouring empire. As for this trip to Death Valley, he wanted to meet the legendary titled world king Qilin. Outside Death Valley was surrounded by black fog, as if it was riding on the clouds. Without even stepping into the valley, Longao could clearly feel just how terrifying the aura within the valley was. It was truly worthy of being a titled world king god beast that even Shen Ting and the others feared. Such strength was enough to look down upon the vast starry skies with disdain. Enter? Or not to enter? For a moment, Longao was in a dilemma because he wanted to try his luck. If he could get the Qilin blood, it would undoubtedly be the greatest help to his cultivation. You two have been following me all the way. Isn't it time for you to show yourselves? You can actually sense our auras. Looks like you're pretty good. Along with the sneer, Shen He and Shenjua appeared at the same time. Both of them had never thought that Longao would be able to lock onto their breaths. If that was the case, it would be almost impossible for them to succeed in one hit. You want to kill me? Wrong. His Majesty is afraid that you can't handle it alone, so he sent the two of us to help you. Shameless. Regarding the purpose of the two people coming this time, how could Longao not know? Since that's the case, then I'll have to thank the two of you. How about this? The three of us will travel together and enter Death Valley. When we get the blood, we'll split it equally. How about it? Travel together? The two of them didn't dare to enter Death Valley because they weren't completely confident. In the past, the three of them weren't a match for the titled World King Qilin, even when they joined forces, let alone now. Longao, this is the Empire's test for you. If you want the Empire to fully nurture you, you must pay a price. You're right. Therefore, you should enter Death Valley alone. We'll wait for you here. Although they couldn't kill Longao, the two of them still had to watch him enter Death Valley with their own eyes. If that was the case, it would be impossible for Longao to escape from the hands of the titled World King Qilin. He would die without a doubt. Trash. Longao turned and left. In a short while, he had already entered Death Valley and disappeared without a trace. This kid is really arrogant. I like this kid's character. Young people should be arrogant, but he's a little too arrogant. The two of them sighed deeply. Although Longao's talent wasn't the best, his potential and willfulness were all very good. If they could accept such a person as their disciple, it would be a good thing. Shenhe and Shenjue didn't choose to leave. In order to ensure that nothing went wrong, the two of them were prepared to guard this place. If Longao came out, they could intercept and kill him. No matter what happened, Longao had to die. When Longao fell off the cliff of Heaven's End Cliff, everyone thought that Longao was dead for sure. But they didn't expect that not only was Longao not dead, but he had also killed Jin Xing. Even now, they still didn't know how Longao had done it. Death Valley was surrounded by black fog. Even with Longao's strength, he couldn't see everything clearly. He could only rely on his intuition to slowly move forward. He also carefully released his primordial spirit to see what was going on in Death Valley. It doesn't work. He was shocked. Longao had never expected that the power of his primordial spirit couldn't even reach a radius of 1 meter. The more this was the case, the more careful Longao was. He was on full alert, afraid that he would meet the titled World King Qilin. Longao was almost certain that the strength of this titled World King Qilin was far above Shenting and the other two. If he could create such a corpse slave, destroying the heaven-devouring empire wouldn't be difficult. But Longao was only thinking about it. He knew that it was almost impossible for something like that to happen. Longao was careful with every step he took. With every step he took, he had to sense for a long time before he dared to move forward. As the saying went, caution is the parent of safety. Step by step, step by step, step by step, after a few hundred steps, Longao finally came to a stop. Looking left and right, he used his finger as a sword, and a reincarnation sword chi shot out. Under the starry skies, the black fog was devoured by it. Just as he had expected. The moment Longao stepped into Death Valley, he had already guessed that the black fog was most likely the aura released by the titled World King Qilin. It was just that for some reason it didn't dissipate. Now that he had used the reincarnation sword chi to test it out, it was indeed so. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe. Chapter 2084. Longao still didn't know how big Death Valley was. Given the current situation, he could only take one step at a time. Carefully, step by step, he tried to sense his surroundings with his primordial spirit. If there was any danger, he could at least prepare in advance. Silence. Black fog lingered, making it impossible to see the surroundings. Master, you have to be careful. You have already stepped into the true territory of the Starry Sky Qilin. Longao knew what Long Fu meant. If he stepped into the territory of the Starry Sky Qilin, the titled World King Qilin would definitely attack. At that time, with his strength, How could he resist the attack of a titled world king? Give up? Longao was definitely not taking the risk for the heaven-devouring empire, but for himself. Ever since he became a starry sky domain lord, he had been unwilling to break through. 3 years had passed. How many years did he have? Moreover, the vast universe was filled with danger. Without strength, it would be difficult to move around. If he was a starry sky realm king, would he still need to fear the heaven-devouring empire? Strength. He needed to be strong. Legend had it that the blood of the titled world king Qilin could help any cultivator break through. If he could obtain the Qilin blood, even if it was just a little, it would definitely be beneficial to his cultivation. In the end, Longao still chose to step in. Master, have you thought it through? It must be done. Long Fu knew his master's character very well. Once he had decided on something, he would not change his mind. Even if he knew that the path ahead was filled with danger, he would still charge forward without hesitation. Even if he knew that there was a tiger in the mountain, he would still charge forward. Master, I believe you know what the titled world king Qilin means. When the time comes, even I won't be able to resist such an existence. Longao didn't continue forward. He wanted to obtain the Qilin blood, but he wouldn't sacrifice himself for nothing. So what if he obtained the Qilin blood? He had to think of a way to obtain the Qilin blood and escape unscathed. Long Fu, do you have a good idea? Master, I know you are eager to break through, but it's not worth the risk. Long Fu was still unwilling to let Longao take the risk. If it were any other danger, it wouldn't matter. But this titled world king Qilin was far too terrifying. If they were the slightest bit careless, they would die without a grave. Master, isn't your luck a little too good? What happened? A Qilin is giving birth. Qilin giving birth? Longao certainly knew what a Qilin giving birth meant. However, he had never imagined that the starry sky Qilin in Death Valley would actually be a woman. Moreover, she was in a state of giving birth. It was common knowledge. Whether it was a divine beast or a human warrior, they were at their weakest when they were giving birth. At this time, it was unknown if the starry sky Qilin could even exert 1/10,000th of its power, let alone its original strength. The birth of a Qilin was indeed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. Of course, Longao wouldn't miss this opportunity. He immediately got up and stepped in. There was still black fog lingering around, but Longao quickly locked onto the exact location of the starry sky Qilin. The current situation of the starry sky Qilin was different. Its aura was very chaotic. It might not be able to sense anything from the outside, but once inside, even a random cultivator would be able to sense that something was wrong. In a dark valley, the surroundings were shrouded in black fog. A huge red Qilin was lying on the ground, breathing painfully. It was the legendary master of Death Valley, the titled world king Qilin. The devouring sky plane had 2 masters. One was undoubtedly the devouring sky empire. It controlled tens of thousands of worlds, and no one dared to provoke it. The second was Death Valley. However, the starry sky Qilin didn't care about worldly affairs. Because of this, many worlds only knew about the devouring sky empire and not Death Valley. Although Death Valley didn't care about worldly affairs, the titled world king Qilin's strength was still there. As long as it didn't die, it could threaten the status of the devouring sky empire. Death Valley had always been a big worry for Shunting. For countless years, he had tried all kinds of methods but still couldn't kill the starry sky Qilin. The reason was simple. If the titled world king Qilin left Death Valley, then not to mention everyone joining forces, even Shunting alone could defeat the starry sky Qilin. However, the titled world king Qilin didn't leave Death Valley at all. As long as the titled world king Qilin didn't leave Death Valley, he could use the black fog of Death Valley to increase his strength by 1/3. What kind of concept was this? Many years ago, Shunting had led 2 titled world kings into Death Valley, preparing to eliminate the threat of Death Valley once and for all. At that time, everyone thought that the 3 titled world kings joining forces would be more than enough to kill the Starry Sky Qilin. But the result? The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, the titled world king Qilin fought 1 against 3 and defeated the 3 titled world kings. From then on, his name shook the vast universe. However, at that time, the 3 titled world kings joined forces and killed the husband of the titled world king Qilin. It was only a level 9 Starry Sky God Beast. After that battle, Death Valley and the Heaven-Devouring Empire became enemies. They were enemies of life and death. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't defeat the Heaven-Devouring Empire without leaving Death Valley, the titled world king Qilin would have come out long ago. Human, get out of here. Longao didn't hide his aura. Of course, it was impossible for him to escape the Starry Sky Qilin's lock. It was also because of this that the titled world king Qilin was shocked and angry. If this person was a titled world king, even a Starry Sky world king, it would be fine. But now the other party was just a mere Starry Sky domain lord. If I attack now, not only can I kill you, but I can also kill your child. Do you believe me? Without giving the other party a chance to speak, Longao continued, I entered Death Valley this time for no other purpose. I just want to borrow a few drops of your blood to help me break through to the Starry Sky Domain Lord realm and deal with the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Hearing that the other party wanted its blood, the enraged Starry Sky Qilin suddenly asked curiously, Do you have enmity with the Heaven-Devouring Empire? Absolutely irreconcilable. There wasn't the slightest bit of hesitation. Human, I can't give my blood to you humans. You should leave. After my child is born, I will leave Death Valley and take revenge on the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Seeing that you have enmity with the Heaven-Devouring Empire, I won't bicker with you. In the Starry Sky Qilin's opinion, its bloodline was the most noble, much nobler than the bloodline of human cultivators. How could it hand over its blood? Chapter 2085. Do you think I will choose to leave if I don't get your blood? The Starry Sky Qilin was furious. Killing intent erupted from its body, suppressing Qin Lai. It was ignored. Longao was fully confident that he could successfully kill this titled world king, Qilin, and obtain all of his blood. He could even refine Qilin into a Starry Sky's corpse slave. A titled world king corpse slave. Just thinking about it made him excited. Thinking about it. In the end, Longao chose to give up. The Qilin was about to give birth. If he attacked now, would he still be human? If he could avoid a fight, then he would. Don't force me to attack. Using his finger as a sword, Longao gently swiped at the space on one side, and a frightening scene appeared. Shattering the Starry Sky? A crack in the Starry Sky was the nemesis of Starry Sky martial artists and Starry Sky god beasts. No matter who it was, including titled world kings, as long as they were swallowed by a crack in the Starry Sky, they would die. They wouldn't even have the chance to enter samsara. This was the tyrannical power of a crack in the Starry Sky. The titled world king Qilin was well aware of what it meant to be able to shatter the Starry Sky. If it was at its peak, dealing with a small Starry Sky domain lord would be a piece of cake. But the current situation was a bit different. Its child was about to be born and it was at its weakest. If it attacked now, not only would it be difficult to protect its child, but it would also be difficult. Of all times, it had to come at this time. Senior, I've already said that I have no ill intentions towards you or your child. I just need a few drops of your blood to help me break through to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm. If Senior insists on fighting, then I have no choice but to accept. After hearing the other party's words, the titled world king Qilin's expression changed again and again. This was because she could clearly see that the other party was telling the truth. In her current situation, once they fought, she would undoubtedly die. If it was just her, she would never choose to compromise even if she died. The blood of the starry sky Qilin was the most precious. How could she give it to a starry sky martial artist? It was simply a disgrace. But the current situation was completely different. Child. If she died, what would happen to the child? The titled World King Qilin was almost certain that if she died, then the child would suffer. She clenched her teeth. Human, after my child is born, I can give you 3 drops of my blood. Thank you. Longao chose to believe the other party because he knew that the Starry Sky Qilin clan was incomparably arrogant. They would definitely not go back on their word. If he pressed them step by step and caused the other party to engage in a life and death struggle, it would really be like going for wool and coming home shorn. Dragon pride slowly left. Although the titled World King Qilin was a starry sky god beast, she was still a woman. Moreover, at this time, it wouldn't be right for him to stay. Thus, he chose to leave. Chen Ting suddenly descended. His face was full of surprise and even a little excited. Even his body began to tremble. Your Majesty, Longao has already entered the Death Valley. If nothing unexpected happens, Longao will definitely die. Waving his hand, Chen Ting didn't seem to care about Longao's life and death. Instead, he said anxiously, Qilin giving birth, I really didn't expect that Yilisha is finally going to give birth. For us, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as we kill Yilisha, not only will we be able to get rid of the big problem in our hearts, with the help of Yilisha's blood and strength, our cultivation can be further improved. Qilin giving birth? The two of them were well aware of what a Qilin giving birth meant. As they thought of their cultivation increasing, both Shen He and Shen Zhuo became excited. Not only that, but if we can obtain this little fellow and properly nurture it, it will become a titled world king god beast in the future. To the Empire, there are only benefits. Your Majesty, what should we do now? Gather all the masters of the Empire? He shook his head. Shen Ting smiled and said, the fewer people that know about Death Valley, the better. Let's go. Shen Ting's meaning was clear. They had to conceal this matter. The 3 titled world kings all rushed into Death Valley. Normally, they wouldn't dare to take half a step in even if they had 10,000 times the courage. But now, taking advantage of the Qilin giving birth, they were prepared to seize Death Valley in one fell swoop. Ha ha ha, Yilisha, I didn't expect you to choose this time to give birth. The heavens are helping me. Today, I want to see how you can escape from my grasp. Yilisha, who was in the middle of giving birth, was the so-called titled World King Qilin. As she saw these 3 people suddenly appear in front of her, her complexion completely changed. However, she wasn't surprised at all because she knew that Shen Ting had been paying attention to Death Valley for all these years. How could he possibly give up on such a rare opportunity? Was she going to die here? Yilisha wasn't afraid of death. She was just worried that her child would leave with her before it was born. Despair. Yilisha didn't even want to resist. She was clear about her situation. Even the Starry Sky Domain Master couldn't resist, let alone 3 titled world kings. Shen Ting, even if I die, I won't let you off. I won't let the heaven-devouring empire off. You? Ha 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 ha. Shen Ting and the other 2 reared their heads in laughter. To them, Yilisha was dead for sure. By then, even her essence spirit would be destroyed. How were they going to take revenge? Even if Yilisha's essence spirit could enter the cycle of reincarnation and be reborn successfully, as long as they sealed Death Valley, would they still have to fear Yilisha? A Yilisha without the help of Death Valley posed no threat to them at all. Shen Ting sneered and said, Yilisha, if you didn't want this child back then, I'm afraid it would have been very difficult for us to find a chance. However, everything was your choice. You can't blame anyone else. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Since you've lost, you have to accept reality. I can guarantee that your child won't die and I will train him well. How about it? How about that? How could Yi Lisha not know what Shinting was trying to say? Although he was trying to say that he was going to nurture her child, in reality, he was just rearing her child in captivity. By the time her child was old enough and strong enough, he would be able to become a killing tool for the heaven-devouring empire. Shameless. This was shameless to the extreme. No matter how angry she was in her heart, what else could she do now that things had come to this? If she didn't accept it, it wasn't just her. Even her child would die without a doubt. If that was the case, she could at least keep the child alive. Just as Yi Lisha was about to agree, Longao's figure suddenly appeared. He laughed coldly. What 3 shameless things! Chapter 2086. Longao? Looking at Longao who suddenly appeared, the 3 of them seemed to be somewhat surprised. Longao hadn't died yet. However, the 3 didn't place Longao in their eyes. Shinting smiled and said, Longao, since you've appeared, don't blame me for being impolite. Shinting, if you want to harm Senior Qilin, you'll have to ask me first. Ask you? The 3 crazily laughed once more. A mere Starry Skies ruler actually dared to say that he wanted to contend with 3 titled great emperors. This was simply a joke, an enormous joke. Yi Lisha seemed a bit moved because Longao's strength was obvious. He clearly knew that he wasn't a match for 3 titled world king powerhouses, and yet he had still resolutely appeared. It was impossible for others to have such courage. You should leave. You aren't their match. Yi Lisha was already very weak. She couldn't even maintain her true form and directly transformed into her human form. One couldn't help but admit that Yi Lisha was indeed very beautiful. She didn't even belong to Feng Xia. Shenting and the others ignored Yi Lisha's beauty because all they wanted was blood and strength. If you want to leave, we'll leave together. If you want to stay, we'll stay together. Longao didn't know what was happening to him at this moment. Perhaps it was because of Yi Lisha's mother and son? Longao, since you want to court death, don't blame me for being impolite. Terrifying astral domains erupted from the 3 at the same time. Let alone Longao, even a Starry Skies ruler wouldn't be able to resist the suppression of the astral domains. Senior, do you have a way to temporarily break through the suppression of the 3 astral domains? Yes. Although they didn't know what Longao wanted to do, this situation was very dangerous. It could be said that it was a moment of life and death. If they were the slightest bit careless, they would fall into a state of eternal damnation. If it were before, in Death Valley, with Yi Lisha's strength, breaking through the suppression of the 3 astral domains would be a simple matter. This was also the reason why the 3 of them were so afraid of Yi Lisha. But now, the situation was different. Yi Lisha was very weak. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for her to use her strength, much less forcefully break through the suppression of the 3 astral domains. If it was outside, it would be almost impossible. However, in Death Valley, anything was possible. Yi Lisha gritted her teeth and mobilized the last of her strength to frantically absorb the surrounding black mist. The black fog was like a huge whirlpool, and it began to crazily rush towards the 5 people. Their expressions changed drastically. The 3 of them were very wary of Yi Lisha, especially in Death Valley. No one knew if Yi Lisha would choose to burn both jade and common stone. What if both sides suffered? No matter what, Yi Lisha was still a titled world king, especially in Death Valley. If Yi Lisha chose to detonate her primordial spirit, it was easy to imagine just how terrifying the power would be. The black fog vortex directly broke through the astral domain suppression released by the 3 of them. The opportunity had come. Longao didn't hesitate at all. If he couldn't seize the opportunity this time, not to mention taking Yi Lisha away, even he himself wouldn't be able to leave this place alive. It was a close call. Longao strode to Yi Lisha and said, "Senior, come with me." Before Yilisha could react, the two figures instantly disappeared from where they were, as if they had vanished into thin air. The black fog vortex was dispersed by the three of them. Looking at the two people who had disappeared in front of them, the three of them were completely dumbfounded. What had just happened? A spatial divine tool? The three of them were so regretful that they wanted to die. They clearly knew that Longao had a spatial divine tool, but they hadn't taken any precautions. Under normal circumstances, with the suppression of the astral domain, it would be very difficult for Longao to enter the spatial divine tool. However, with Yilisha's help, the situation was completely different. Longao, I will tear you to pieces. Anger, endless anger. Yilisha had been taken away by Longao right under his nose. How could he not be angry? Shunting was even more clear that since Longao had brought Yilisha into the spatial divine tool, he would definitely not appear again. If Yilisha successfully gave birth and her strength recovered, even if the three of them joined forces, they wouldn't be able to kill Yilisha. Such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity was missed just like that. The monstrous anger along with the billowing murderous aura instantly shrouded the entire Death Valley. Shinjua and Shin, he also had a helpless look. This was their carelessness. If they didn't underestimate Longao and directly attacked and killed Longao first, then this wouldn't have happened. The two of them sighed deeply in their hearts. Your Majesty, what should we do now? Longao had brought Yilisha into the spatial divine tool and definitely wouldn't casually come out. The two of them could almost be sure that when Yilisha appeared, she would have given birth and her cultivation would have recovered. At that time, even if the three of them joined forces, what use would it be? The opportunity has been missed. It's useless to stay here. Let's go back and prepare. If there are no accidents, when Yilisha's strength recovers, she will definitely attack the Empire. This time, no matter what price we have to pay, we have to kill Yilisha. They were helpless, but what His Majesty said was the truth. They had no choice but to believe it. This was luck. Originally, according to Yilisha's situation, the three of them could easily kill Yilisha. But now, it was very likely that they would have to pay a painful price to deal with Yilisha. Their carelessness had caused someone's death. The three of them were extremely depressed. The three of them didn't leave just like that. Instead, they stayed and carefully sensed. In the end, the three of them didn't want to give up. They wanted to try their luck and see if they could lock onto Longao's spatial divine tool. As titled world kings, the three of them were already peak existences in the vast starry sky. The three of them joined forces but still couldn't lock onto Longao and his spatial divine tool. It was a little unbelievable. Just like that, the three of them didn't want to give up and began to sense the entire Death Valley. The three of them were very clear that although Longao could bring Yilisha into the spatial divine tool, he couldn't bring Yilisha out of Death Valley. Moreover, Yilisha wouldn't leave Death Valley. If she left and they sealed Death Valley, Yilisha wouldn't be so terrifying anymore. At that time, killing Yilisha would become much easier. The three of them were afraid that if Yilisha didn't leave Death Valley, even if the heaven-devouring empire had 3 heads and 6 arms, they wouldn't be able to kill Yilisha. For 3 days and 3 nights, the three of them didn't rest at all. Even so, they still couldn't lock onto the spatial divine tool's location. Since things had already reached this stage, there wasn't much meaning in staying. It was better to leave Death Valley and return to the Empire to prepare. Just like that, the three of them had no choice but to leave. Chapter 2087. Within the Dragon Seal Space. Senior, you are too weak. If you insist on doing this, I'm afraid you will die here. Yilisha had forcefully used the black fog to break through the suppression of the astral domain released by the trio. Now, Yilisha had 2 choices. The first choice was to give up the child and protect herself. In this case, Yilisha had a 70% chance of survival. The second choice was to forcefully have the child, but she would die without a doubt. What would Yilisha choose? Without even thinking about it, without the slightest hesitation, Yilisha chose to have the child. A mother's love was the greatest love in the world. For the child, Yilisha could give up her life. Deep veneration. Longao admired this mother very much. At this moment, he no longer regarded Yilisha as a Chilan god-beast, but as an ordinary mother, a mother who could sacrifice herself for her child. Within the dragon seal space, Longao was the ruler. In a simple but well-furnished room, Yilisha tried her best to give birth. After a full day and night, Longao, I have a request. Senior, please speak. In fact, Longao had already guessed what Yilisha wanted him to help her with. He sighed deeply. Yilisha's injuries were too severe. Even a titled world king wouldn't be able to recover from such a severe injury. Help me take good care of the child. I can only give you 10 drops of blood. This is the rule of my Chilan clan. I hope you can understand. Senior, 10 drops are enough. Longao still didn't know if 10 drops of blood could help him break through to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm. However, he didn't want to say anything. A Chilan giving birth to a child and not hesitating to sacrifice herself to protect the child touched Longao greatly. Just as he finished speaking, 10 drops of blood shot out from Yilisha's body. Just as Longao swallowed the 10 drops of blood, Yilisha closed her eyes. In fact, Yilisha knew that she had already died. Even if Longao wanted to take away all the blood in her body, she couldn't do anything about it. She didn't know why, but she trusted this young man. Just as Longao was about to look at the child, his expression suddenly changed. The Chilan blood was too tyrannical. Even Longao couldn't bear to swallow 10 drops of blood at the same time. He had to refine them as soon as possible. Otherwise, the 10 drops of blood would be like an ocean pouring into a river. It was easy to imagine what would happen. He sat down on the ground and began to cultivate. Longao did not know if he could break through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm after devouring 10 drops of blood. However, he had full confidence that he would be able to refine it. Yes. With a 100% chance of breaking through to the Starry Skies realm sovereign realm, the blood of a titled world king Chilan was extremely tyrannical. It was even more tyrannical than the primordial soul of a Starry Skies world master. Longao's cultivation base was about to break through at any moment. Swallowing the primordial souls of 3 territory ancestors wasn't a joke. Ha 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 ha. After 3 years of hard work and cultivation, his cultivation had finally broken through from the Starry Sky Domain Lord to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch. Although it was only a breakthrough of 1 realm, it was of great significance to Longao. With the help of 10 drops of Chilan blood, not only had his cultivation base successfully broken through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm, but he had also reached the peak of the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. He was only 1 step away from breaking through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. Master, congratulations on breaking through to the peak of the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. However, to break through the last step and reach the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm, you will need a huge amount of energy, far more than the energy needed to break through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. He sighed helplessly. How could Longao not know what Long Fu had said? Breaking through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm required such a huge amount of energy. It was hard to imagine how much energy was needed to break through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. Not to mention 10 drops of blood, even 100 drops of blood might not be enough to break through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. The sacred reincarnation physique had its advantages and disadvantages. He didn't continue to dwell on this problem. His cultivation speed was already very fast. In just a few years, he had gone from the trash of Scarlet Fire Town to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. It was like a dream. He picked up Yilisha's body and left the Dragon Seal space. Longao could clearly sense that the 3 of them had left Death Valley. He wasn't going to take Yilisha away. No matter what, Death Valley was still Yilisha's place. This was Yilisha. If it were any other divine beast, Longao wouldn't have been so polite. Longao was confident that if he could devour all of Yilisha's blood, including her primordial spirit, he would definitely be able to break through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. However, he didn't do so. Finding the grave of Yilisha's husband, Longao took out the bones and found a very secluded place for the two of them, where no one could find them, and buried them together. Longao wasn't sure if anyone from the heaven-devouring empire would enter Death Valley. What if they found Yilisha's grave? For safety's sake, he chose to move them. What about the little fellow? It was a cute little Qilin that had reached the 7th level of the Starry Sky realm as soon as it was born. It wasn't strange. If it was in the Martial Sky continent, it wouldn't be possible. However, in the vast universe, it wasn't strange. Longao didn't plan to keep the little fellow for himself. No matter what, the little fellow had no parents. He had to find someone for it to rely on. After witnessing the death of a titled world king, Longao felt a little depressed. This was all caused by Shunting and the others. If the three of them hadn't appeared, Yilisha wouldn't have died. She would have been able to stay with her child forever. Since this matter was over, Longao didn't continue to dwell on it. Thinking about it, the heaven-devouring empire still didn't know about Yilisha's death. Since they didn't know, he wouldn't say anything. He believed that the heaven-devouring empire would be afraid of Yilisha. Let alone Yilisha, even he would think that Yilisha would be able to give birth and recover her strength. If Yilisha recovered her strength, her first mission would be to destroy the heaven-devouring empire. So if there were no accidents, Shunting would definitely go all out to defend her. Everyone knew how powerful a titled world king was. If Yilisha had chosen to fight with both sides, even Shunting and the others wouldn't have dared to underestimate her, especially if she had chosen to self-detonate. At that time, even if the heaven-devouring empire could kill Yilisha, they would suffer heavy losses. However, now that Yilisha had died, it was impossible. As for the enmity between him and Yilisha, Longao wouldn't give up so easily. He wouldn't rest until he destroyed the heaven-devouring empire. After leaving Death Valley, Longao didn't leave the heaven-devouring plain. Instead, he went to find Yi Mei and Haifeng to see who was more suitable for the little fellow. Chapter 2088. As soon as they stepped into the heaven-devouring empire, they chose to leave. They knew that Longao had started to deal with the heaven-devouring empire. It was unbelievable. The heaven-devouring empire was a colossus in front of them. Even other empires wouldn't be able to do anything to the heaven-devouring empire. They knew Longao's character well. He wouldn't change his mind once he had decided on something. "Brother Long, are you all right?" Looking at the sudden appearance of Longao, whether it was Yi Mei or Haifeng, both of their faces lit up with joy. Seeing that Longao was fine, they heaved a sigh of relief. "I'm fine." Longao also heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that both of them were fine. "There's something I need to tell you." Longao didn't hide anything and told them everything that happened in Death Valley. The more they listened, the more shocked they were. They didn't believe that Longao could fight against 3 titled world kings. However, after thinking about it, they understood. Longao was a miracle. He was only a level 8 cosmic realm cultivator back then, but he dared to challenge the Heaven and Earth sect and the heaven-devouring empire. "Brother Long, do you mean that either of us can sign a bloodline contract with the little fellow?" "That's right." Longao meant exactly that. He didn't trust anyone else. As for his family, they were all in the Sky Martial Plane. After thinking about it, Haifeng and Yi were the safest choice. As for whether it was Haifeng or Yi, it would depend on who was more suitable for the little fellow. No problem. Longao carried the little fellow out of the dragon seal space. It was very cute. Level 7 Cosmic Realm. It seems like this little fellow isn't simple. If it inherits its mother's bloodline, it will definitely grow into a titled world king. If such a cub was released, it would definitely be fought over by many. Haifeng and Iji looked at each other and released their Yuan spirit. They slowly approached the little fellow. Iji, you're in luck. Spray of Plum Blossom nodded in surprise. He didn't expect that when he and Haifeng released their primordial spirits at the same time, the little guy would choose him instead of Haifeng. Haifeng was not displeased at all. Brandish Plum seemed to be in a hurry as he picked up the little fellow. He immediately began the bloodline contract. At this moment, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. Brother Long, what are you going to do next? The two of them were well aware of Longao's character. Since he had already chosen to make an enemy out of the heaven-devouring empire, he would not rest until he destroyed the heaven-devouring empire. Previously, Longao was only a grade 8 starry sky cultivator. How could Qianquan sect be a match for Longao? Definitely not. However, it was under such circumstances that Longao managed to shake up the Qianquan sect. Other than Ancestor Qianquan and Feng Xia, everyone else was killed and the Qianquan sect disappeared. If it didn't happen, how many people would believe that a grade 8 starry sky cultivator could shake the mighty Qianquan sect? Right now, Longao's cultivation base had already broken through to the starry sky domain monarch realm. No one knew who would have the last laugh against the heaven-devouring empire. The current heaven-devouring empire was just like the Qianquan sect. I won't leave the heaven-devouring realm for the time being. The two of you should leave first. Even though Yi Mei and Haifeng were starry sky territory ancestors, they were useless against the heaven-devouring empire. Longao did not want to implicate his friends. If he was alone, even the heaven-devouring empire wouldn't be able to do anything to him. How could the two of them not understand Longao's intentions? Yi Mei and Haifeng said in unison, "Brother Long, you're underestimating us. If you treat us as friends, we'll share fortune and misfortune together. True friends should share blessings and misfortunes together. If it were anyone else, they would have run faster than anyone else in the face of the heaven-devouring empire." However, both Yi Mei and Haifeng had chosen to stay instead of leaving. Looking at the determination of the two people, Longao also did not say much. "The two of you, don't act recklessly. Stay here and cultivate. When I need you, I'll look for you. Don't worry. We won't be a burden to you. If it were any other time or other people, it would be awkward to say such words. It was ridiculous that two starry sky territory ancestors would be a burden to a starry sky world emperor. However, the two of them knew that they would be a burden to Longao if they stayed with him. If Longao could shake the heaven-devouring empire, could the two of them do the same? Yi Mei, you've already signed a bloodline contract with the little guy. You have to seize the time and make the little guy break through to the starry sky territory ancestor realm in the shortest time possible. Then, you won't be afraid of any cultivators below the starry sky realm lord. I understand. Yi Mei knew what Longao meant. The little guy must have inherited his mother's powerful bloodline. He was already a grade 7 starry sky realm cultivator when he was born. He believed that it wouldn't take long for the little guy to grow into a starry sky territory ancestor realm lord. Longao did not leave immediately. No matter what, he had only used 10 drops of blood to break through to the starry sky domain emperor realm. He had to stabilize it first. Otherwise, it would hinder his future breakthroughs. In the secret chamber, Longao sat cross-legged quietly. He had not left the secret chamber for a month. After a month of cultivation, he had finally stabilized his starry sky domain emperor realm. Big brother, my cultivation base has also broken through to the starry sky domain emperor realm. He was not surprised at all because Longao had already guessed that as his cultivation broke through, He believed that Long Chong's cultivation would break through as well. There was no doubt about it. Longao was curious. Usually, even if Long Chong had broken through, he wouldn't come out to tell him. What was going on today? Why would he do that? Was there a hidden meaning in his words? If you have something to say, just say it. Don't be shy with me. Chuckling, Long Chong thought for a while and said, Big brother, my cultivation base has just broken through to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm. I seem to have obtained some inheritance. As for what it is, I don't know. However, I'm sure that the inheritance is related to my origin. Origin, the little guy's origin was indeed a question worth pondering. Longao knew that the little guy's origin wasn't simple. As for why he had appeared in the Tianwu continent, he didn't know. Stepping into the vast starry sky this time, Longao was also prepared to help the little fellow investigate the little fellow's background and origin. Try your best to sense the inheritance. If you find any clues, tell me. After I've dealt with the heaven-devouring empire, I'll accompany you to find your origin. Chapter 2089. Long Chong's background wasn't simple. His cultivation had stabilized, and he was only one step away from becoming a Starry Sky region emperor. However, this step was extremely difficult. Long Chong tried to break through, but he always felt powerless. The amount of energy required to break through to become a Starry Sky region emperor was simply too great. Long Chong did a rough calculation. If he wanted to break through to become a Starry Sky region emperor, he would need at least 30 drops of Qilin blood. He was helpless. The heaven-devouring empire still didn't know about Yi Lisha's death. Shen Ting was worried that he couldn't kill Yi Lisha. If Yi Lisha came, it would be troublesome. The current heaven-devouring empire was on high alert, as if they were facing a strong enemy. But the result? 10 days passed in the blink of an eye, and there was still no sign of Yi Lisha. Was Yi Lisha not coming? Shen Ting didn't dare to relax in the slightest. No matter how it was said, Yi Lisha was still a god-beast of a titled world king. Even if her strength was inferior to his when she left Death Valley, if she chose to die together with them, she would still be terrifying. Heaven-devouring empire. At the peak of Blackwood Cliff, Ancestor Qian Kuan sat quietly at the peak, looking at the endless void in the distance. He let out a long sigh. After 3 years of seclusion, he had finally reached the peak of Starry Sky World Lord. His next step was to become a Starry Sky World King. 3 years later, I will be able to become a Starry Sky World King. At that time, becoming a titled World King will be just around the corner. Right at this moment, Shen Ting suddenly descended and said with a smile, Congratulations, Your Majesty, thank you for your support. Fang Shan, when you disappeared for no reason back then, I thought you had died. I didn't expect you to destroy your own primordial spirit and enter the reincarnation Tao. Based on your current situation, you will be able to become a titled world king in 30 years. Shen Ting already knew the identity of Ancestor Qian Kuan, who was also known as Fang Shan. Fang Shan was the second master of Qian Kuan's sect, and the one with the strongest talent. When Fang Shan became a titled world king, he disappeared for no reason. Everyone thought that Qian Kuan's sect would reach the peak under his leadership. Who would have thought that things would turn out like this? Because of Fang Shan's death, Qian Kuan's sect's strength. Fang Shan smiled. Your Majesty, I will keep my word. I will follow the empire and never forget it. All right? That was exactly what he wanted. Perhaps Shen Ting wouldn't care about a space sector lord. However, how could Shen Ting easily give up on a Starry Sky World King, especially one who was about to break through to the titled World King realm? Your Majesty, is there something you need from me? Fang Shan was very curious. He was well aware of Shen Ting's character. Ever since he entered seclusion, no one from the heaven-devouring empire had come to disturb him. This was enough to show how much Chen Ting valued him. But after thinking about it for a bit, he understood. No matter where a titled world king went, they would be valued. At the mention of this, Chen Ting's expression changed instantly. He was furious and solemn. Looking at Chen Ting's expression, Fang Shan had a bad premonition. As the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire and a titled world king, Chen Ting was an existence that could summon the wind and summon the rain. Longao is here. Longao? Hearing Longao's words, Fang Shan instantly understood what had happened. A murderous aura that seemed to have materialized erupted from his body. According to his original plan, Qianquan sect would slowly recover their strength. Once they reached the titled World King realm, it would be the time for Qianquan sect to rise. At that time, even the heaven-devouring empire wouldn't dare to casually provoke Qianquan sect. But in the end it was because of Longao that his plans were completely disrupted. The entire Qianquan sect was destroyed and he was forced to join the heaven-devouring empire. Longao was the main culprit behind all of this. Your Majesty, I believe you should know about the grudge between me and Longao. It's either me or him. Fang Shan was very worried. With Longao's talent and everything else, if Shinting wanted to take him in, what would he do? Fang Shan was very afraid of the heaven-devouring empire. Not to mention that he hadn't recovered his strength yet. Even if he recovered to the titled World King realm, he still wouldn't be able to shake the entire heaven-devouring empire. Fang Shan was betting that Shinting would definitely choose him and not Longao. No matter what, he would definitely become a titled world king in the future. As for Longao, he wasn't completely confident. Not to mention titled world king, Longao might not even be able to break through to the starry sky world king realm. Fang Shan, I know what you mean. Longao killed my son. How can I let him live? Chen Ting did not try to hide anything. He gave a rough account of what had happened. The more Fang Shan heard, the darker his expression became. He never thought that Longao would dare to step into the heaven-devouring plane and even openly provoke Shinting. This was no different from courting death. Your Majesty, Longao's strength and talent are only SOSO. It's just that he has many secrets on him, especially his spatial divine tool. He used this spatial divine tool to escape time and time again. The treasures and secret techniques on Longao were enough to shake the vast universe. Whether it was Shinting or Fang Shan, they naturally hoped to obtain them. If they could obtain these treasures and secret techniques, especially the spatial divine tool, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. However, it was really difficult to get the treasures and secret techniques. Unless it was a sure-kill attack, otherwise, as long as Longao had a chance to react, then even if he could kill Longao, he would not be able to get the treasures and secret technique. Fang Shan, I believe you know what I mean. Longao isn't a simple person. The only thing I'm worried about is that there is a mysterious expert behind Longao. According to the information we received, this person should have come from a sealed plane. As for the situation of this plane, we have no idea. Your Majesty, what do you want to do? As long as Longao isn't, it will be difficult for us to obtain any information about this plane. My intuition tells me that the plane behind Longao is not simple. That's why we came in to capture Longao alive. Fang Shan was very curious. Even Shinting and the others couldn't capture Longao. How could he? Even if he had a breakthrough in his cultivation, he was only at the pinnacle of the starry sky sector lord. As if he could guess what Fang Shan was thinking, Shinting said, I want to use you as bait to lure Longao out. No problem. Fang Shan didn't even think and agreed. He didn't know about Jin Sheng. In Fang Shan's opinion, with his current strength, Longao was trash. If Longao came, he might be able to kill him in one strike, obtain all the treasures and secret techniques, and then escape. Chapter 2090. Unknowingly, the news of ancestor heaven and earth being at Blackwood Cliff had spread. Be it Shen Ting or Fang Shan, both of them were waiting for Longao. If it was anyone else, they would definitely not have come, regardless of whether this was a bait or not. No matter what, the heaven-devouring empire was strong. Going to Blackwood Cliff in the heaven-devouring empire was suicide. Except for Longao. The two of them knew Longao well. Even though he knew that the heaven-devouring empire was strong, he still took the risk to kill Jin Xing. Unfortunately, until now, Fang Shan still did not know that Jin Xing was killed by Longao. If Fang Shan knew that Longao could kill Jin Xing, he would not be willing to continue being bait. Longao must have heard the news by now. In the courtyard, Brother Long, don't tell me that you're going to kill ancestor heaven and earth in the heaven-devouring empire? Yi Mei and Heifeng were very clear about Longao's character, especially the grudge between him and old ancestor heaven and earth. If it was any other place, it would be fine. But the heaven-devouring empire was too dangerous. Although they didn't know how Longao did it, they knew that if Longao was strong enough to shake the heaven-devouring empire, he wouldn't have waited so long. Brother Long, Yi Mei is right. This is obviously a trap. Ancestor heaven and earth is using himself as bait to lure you to the heaven-devouring empire. Bait? Longao chuckled. How could he not know what ancestor heaven and earth and Shen Ting were up to? It was obvious that Patriarch Heaven and Earth was using him as bait to lure him to the Blackwood Cliff of the heaven-devouring empire. If he really went there, he would fall right into their trap. Since they want to lure me there, I'll make a trip there. Hearing that Longao was really going, the two of them were depressed. Before they could say anything, Longao said, "Don't worry. I know my own life. If I can kill Jin Xing, I can kill ancestor heaven and earth." Since that was the case, what else could they say? Be careful. He nodded. Longao had already thought about this matter. Ancestor heaven and earth had been used as bait to lure him over. Even Shen Ting and Lin Fan were not sure whether he would go or not. Under normal circumstances, he would definitely not go. It was precisely because of this that he wanted to do the exact opposite. If he was alone, Longao wouldn't have taken the risk. He was well aware of the difference in strength between him and the heaven-devouring empire. However, the situation was different now. With the help of 2 Starry Sky Corps slaves, it was more than enough to kill ancestor Qianquan. As for titled World Kings and Starry Sky World Kings, as long as he was careful, he should be fine. Longao disguised himself as Black Wolf and entered the heaven-devouring empire. Now that Longao was a core disciple of the heaven-devouring empire, he could enter the inner regions of the empire. No one knew. Whether it was Shen Ting or Fang Shan, neither of them had expected Longao to enter the heaven-devouring empire in such a manner. Even now, Shen Ting had no idea how Longao had managed to enter Heaven's End Cliff without anyone knowing. Longao first looked for Yizi. Before Longao could say anything, Yizi asked anxiously, "Black Wolf, where did you go? What's wrong? You might not know, but the Empire is facing an emperor. I heard that Qilin, the titled World King of Death Valley, is about to attack. Moreover, Longao is eyeing us covetously." Yilisha? It seemed like Shen Ting was still unaware of Yilisha's death. Since that was the case, things would be much easier. Longao finally understood why Shen Ting was so wary. If he was alone, Shen Ting wouldn't have put him in his eyes. However, since he had helped Yilisha, there was no doubt that Yilisha would help him as well. The might of a titled world king was something that even the heaven-devouring empire was wary of. "Yizi, there's something I want to talk to you about. However, you can't leak this out. Otherwise, I'll be in big trouble." Seeing Longao's serious expression, Yizi was curious. He nodded and said, "You've known me for so long. Don't you know my character? I can swear a blood oath." "I believe you." Even though they hadn't known each other for a long time, Longao knew Yi Zi's character. He was definitely a good person who was worth befriending. Yi Zi, I'm Longao. I came here with only one goal, and that is to kill Ancestor Qian Kuan. Don't mess around. Yi Zi laughed. Black Wolf was Longao? What a joke. In Yi Zi's eyes, Longao was a godlike existence. As for Black Wolf, he was just like him, an ordinary member of the heaven-devouring empire. Seeing that Black Wolf didn't seem to be lying, Yi Zi's expression turned serious. Suddenly, the other party's aura surpassed that of a domain lord. It was obvious that he was a domain emperor. Could Black Wolf really be Longao? Are you really Longao? I'm the one. Yi Zi knew very well that he couldn't just admit it. Longao was the public enemy of the heaven-devouring empire. If he admitted that he was Longao, the consequences would be unimaginable. Black Wolf wasn't a fool. He wouldn't admit that he was Longao for no reason. Senior Longao, Yi Zi stuttered. Longao had always been his idol. Now that his idol was right in front of him, how could he not panic? Yi Zi, we're still friends. There's no need to call me a senior. I need your help. Despite saying that, Yi Zi was still a little reserved. The thought that the person standing in front of him was the legendary Longao made him excited. Tell me. As long as it's within my means, I'll definitely do it. I'm here to kill old ancestor Qiankuan. Tell me more about the Blackwood Cliff. Longao might not know about Blackwood Cliff, but that didn't mean that Yi Zi didn't know. As the saying goes, know thyself and know thy enemy, and thou shalt be victorious in every battle. This trip to Blackwood Cliff was fraught with danger. Yi Zi nodded. He knew how serious the matter was. He immediately told Yi Zi everything he knew. To Yi Zi, the heaven-devouring empire didn't have any feelings for him. On the other hand, he and Black Wolf, or Longao, got along well. Yi Zi hoped that Longao could defeat the heaven-devouring empire, even though the chances were slim. Senior Longao, this is everything I know about the Blackwood Cliff. However, you still have to be careful. Right now, the Blackwood Cliff is filled with danger. If you go, I'm afraid that you will fall into the trap that Chen Ting set up. Chapter 2091. I know. Longao was well aware of Ye's worries. Despite knowing that there was a tiger in the mountain, he still went there. Since Ancestor Heaven and Earth and Shen Ting had purposely baited him, he would fulfill their wish. It was impossible to kill Shen Ting, but it was more than enough to kill Ancestor Heaven and Earth. Not to mention the two universe corpse demons, any one of them would be able to deal with Ancestor Heaven and Earth. Longao was wary of Ancestor Heaven and Earth. After all, Ancestor Heaven and Earth was the reincarnation of an expert. No one knew when he would break through to the titled World King realm. He had to get rid of Ancestor Heaven and Earth as soon as possible. He had to cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. Yi, this is the Godhead of a Universal Domain Emperor. The Godheads of the Universal Domain Emperor and Universal Domain Ancestor were gone. Only a few Universal Domain Emperors were left. But to Yi, the Godhead of a Universal Domain Emperor was incomparably precious. It would be difficult for Yi to obtain the Godhead of a Universal Domain Emperor with his strength alone. Senior, if you treat me as a friend, don't reject it. Many thanks. Longao didn't linger because he didn't want to implicate Yi. If the people of the heaven-devouring empire knew that he had a good relationship with Yi, they wouldn't let Yi off. Looking at the Godhead in his hand, Yi trembled with excitement. He wouldn't die if he didn't seek death. Perhaps it was because Yi was too excited, but 3 days later, he couldn't hold back and told his close friend about his relationship with Longao. In Ye's opinion, friends, especially close friends, wouldn't reveal their secret. But what happened in the end? In the face of great benefits, friends were nothing. 3 days later, Yi was under Shen Ting's control. Longao had a rough understanding of the situation in Blackwood Cliff. He knew that there were many experts in Blackwood Cliff now. As long as he stepped in, he would be surrounded. He couldn't fight them head-on. He could only use his wits. Longao found a secluded place to stay and thought of various ways to get the best of both worlds. Night fell. The 9 heavens were filled with stars. Longao couldn't hold it in any longer, because the longer he delayed, the more troublesome it would be. In the pitch-black night, a figure flashed past quickly. Blackwood Cliff. Under normal circumstances, Blackwood Cliff was the same as Heaven's End Cliff. They were both places where Starry Sky World Lords cultivated in seclusion. Without breaking through to Starry Sky World Lord, one wouldn't have the qualifications to enter. Even though Ancestor Qianquan was also a Starry Sky World Lord, he wasn't qualified to enter the Blackwood Cliff. Against all objections, Shen Ting resolutely arranged for Ancestor of Heaven and Earth to enter the Blackwood Cliff to practice. Others might not know, but how could Shen Ting not know? Although Ancestor Heaven and Earth was not qualified, his strength was definitely enough. Right now, Ancestor Heaven and Earth was already at the peak of the Starry Sky Realm Master Realm. If nothing unexpected happened, breaking through to the Starry Sky Realm King Realm and even becoming a titled Realm King wouldn't be a problem. Shen Ting was very good at winning over people's hearts. Inside Blackwood Cliff, Ancestor of Heaven and Earth was resting with his eyes closed. In reality, he was vigilant of his surroundings. Even now, he wasn't sure if Longao would come. After all, it was impossible for Longao to not know the significance of Blackwood Cliff. A black figure flickered and Longao's figure appeared in Blackwood Cliff. Looking at the youth in front of him, Fang Shan laughed. Longao, I can't help but admire your courage. You actually dared to come to Blackwood Cliff. You really don't know how to write the word death. Shen Ting, Shen Zhua, and Shen He arrived at the same time. 3 titled Realm Kings and 1 Starry Sky World Lord. With 4 super experts joining forces, Longao wouldn't be able to escape. His face was cold and expressionless. Ancestor of Heaven and Earth, this time, I will eliminate the source of the problem. With just you? Fang Shan laughed. He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen such arrogance. Longao's arrogance was rare in the world. Shen Ting and the other 2 laughed and said, Fang Shan, we will leave this person to you. The 3 of them retreated. Longao's strength was well known. If it weren't for his secret technique and spatial divine tool, would Longao have dared to be so arrogant? However, all the exits of Blackwood Cliff had been sealed off. With 3 titled Realm Kings guarding it, even if Longao had 3 heads and 6 arms, he wouldn't be able to leave alive. Since that was the case, they would give Fang Shan some face. Universe Sect's second master, Fang Shan? It seems like you already know. Longao had studied the history of Universe Sect. Among the dozens of masters, including the first Universe World Lord, only the second master, Fang Shan, had the greatest talent and strength. It was said that he had reached the titled Realm King realm, but he had disappeared without a trace. So it turned out that he had reincarnated. Even if that's the case, you must die. The 4 stopped laughing. Longao was so confident that they were curious. What gave this person such confidence? Was it because his cultivation had broken through from the Starry Sky Domain Lord to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor? In their eyes, the Starry Sky Domain Emperor was a trash existence. Not to mention one, even if there were 1,000,000 of them, so what? Fang Shan didn't seem to want to waste any more time. He took a step forward and shot towards Longao. Before he arrived, his killing intent had already arrived. Longao was still calm, as if he didn't place Fang Shan, Shen Ting, and the other 2 in his eyes. The more he was like this, the more curious the 4 became. They began to mutter to themselves. Was Longao really so unafraid of death? Although Shen Ting and the other two didn't attack, they still released their astral domains. Under the layers of suppression, the three of them were confident that Longao wouldn't be able to enter the spatial divine tool. In this kind of situation, killing Longao was 100% certain thing. In the blink of an eye, the two were already engaged in a fierce battle. In a few short seconds, Longao was attacked continuously. He didn't die? Fang Shan was completely dumbfounded. He was very confident in his own strength. Not to mention the Starry Sky Domain Emperor, even the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor couldn't resist so many of his attacks. When did Longao's physical defense become so strong? Not only Fang Shan, even Shen Ting and the other two were a little surprised. However, the three of them still didn't attack. A strong defense didn't mean a strong strength. If Fang Shan couldn't even deal with Longao, he would have to re-evaluate his value. He had lost all his face. With his strength, he couldn't kill Longao under continuous attack. To him, it was simply a great humiliation. They attacked with all their strength. However, at this moment, Longao's figure suddenly disappeared. That's right, he disappeared into thin air. Even though the three titled world kings had released their astral domains, he still disappeared. They were a little dumbfounded. What had just happened? Longao just disappeared into thin air. Chapter 2092. Was what had just happened real? Longao's sudden disappearance was a huge blow to the trio. As titled world kings, the three of them had worked together to lock onto Longao, but they still hadn't been able to do so. Longao had still managed to escape. It was simply a disgrace. In fact, the four of them didn't know that the Longao that had just appeared wasn't the real Longao, but Longao's reincarnated avatar. The three titled world kings' astral domains might be able to suppress Longao, but they couldn't seal the reincarnated avatar. This was also the reason why the reincarnated avatar could leave and disappear as he wished. Just as the four of them were feeling depressed and angry, the reincarnated avatar appeared once again. Trash, 4 pieces of trash. Being humiliated by Longao like this, the four of them were completely enraged. Especially the three titled world kings, they immediately joined forces to attack. This time, the reincarnated avatar didn't disappear but shot into the distance. The three of them were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they and the reincarnated avatar had disappeared without a trace. Only Fang Shan was left. Fang Shan, we haven't seen each other in 3 years. How have you been? Looking at the Longao that had suddenly appeared in front of him, Fang Shan wasn't a fool. He instantly understood what had happened. The one that had lured the three of them away was the reincarnated avatar, not the real Longao. Even so, what could he do? From the beginning to the end, Fang Shan hadn't put Longao in his eyes. Even if Longao's cultivation had broken through from Starry Sky Domain Lord to Starry Sky Domain Emperor, he still wasn't his match. The difference between a Starry Sky Domain Emperor and a Starry Sky Domain Lord was simply not on the same level. Longao, I really admire you. Do you think you can kill me just because you lured the three of them away? Did Fang Shan not know that he had already killed Jin Xing? Looking at Fang Shan's expression, Longao was certain that Fang Shan definitely didn't know. Longao laughed. What are you laughing at? He didn't know why, but a bad premonition arose spontaneously. Longao came here so openly and fearlessly. Could it be that he had something to rely on? If that was the case, wouldn't he be in a lot of trouble? It seems like the heaven-devouring empire doesn't treat you well. He didn't say anything because he didn't know what Longao was up to. Jin Xing is dead? Jin Xing is dead? Their first reaction was disbelief. With Jin Xing's strength and the backing of the heaven-devouring empire, who could possibly kill Jin Xing? Fang Shan was no fool. He seemed to have thought of something. With a face full of shock, he said, "Don't tell me that you killed Jin Xing? What do you think? Could it be that Longao really killed Jin Xing? Impossible, absolutely impossible." He was well aware of Jin Xing's strength. It was almost impossible for Longao to kill Jin Xing, even if he used secret techniques and treasures. However, Longao didn't seem to be lying. If that was the case, why didn't Shen Ting tell him about Jin Xing's death? In an instant, Fang Shan understood what was going on. If Longao was telling the truth, then Shen Ting was hiding it from him because he wanted to use him as bait to lure out Longao. If he told him the news of Jin Xing's death, he would have some fear. Whether he was willing to continue being bait was really an unknown. Even though Fang Shan knew that it was normal for Shen Ting to do this, he still felt uncomfortable. He had already joined the heaven-devouring empire, but Shen Ting still did this because he didn't treat him as one of his own. Or was it because Shen Ting was confident that Longao couldn't kill him with the three of them suppressing him? No matter what, he couldn't lower his own morale. "Longao, even if you can kill Jin Xing, you might not be able to defeat me. Why don't we give it a try?" Fang Shan's heart skipped a beat. The more confident Longao was, the more uncertain Fang Shan felt. It was hilarious to say that a peak Universal Realm Lord was frightened by a Universal Domain Emperor. No one would believe it if news of this spread. A dragon roar sounded. World Annihilation Berserk Dragon? Looking at the World Annihilation Berserk Dragon that appeared beside Longao, Fang Shan finally understood why Longao could kill Jin Xing. It was because of the World Annihilation Berserk Dragon. He couldn't figure out how Longao managed to subdue the World Annihilation Berserk Dragon. "Are you afraid?" Seeing that Fang Shan didn't say anything, Longao ordered. In order to end the battle quickly, both the World Annihilation Berserk Dragon and the other Universal Corpse slave soared into the sky. The two Universal Corpse slaves began their frenzied attack. They had to end the battle quickly. They couldn't drag things out. Longao knew that the longer the battle dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. If the three of them realized something was wrong and returned in time, not to mention killing Fang Shan, he might not even be able to leave this place alive. The two Universal Corpse slaves teaming up was a completely suppressive battle. Even if Fang Shan was a peak Universal Realm Lord, it was still impossible for him to fight against two Universal Corpse slaves alone. One had to admit that Fang Shan was indeed powerful. If it was someone else, such as Jin Xing, they wouldn't be able to last more than 10 moves. However, Fang Shan's situation was different. Just as the two Starry Skies Corpse demons were attacking Fang Shan with all their might, Longao had already sensed three figures shooting towards them from a distance. Shen Ting and the other two had managed to make it back in time. If they did not leave now, then it would be difficult for them to leave later. Without the slightest hesitation, Longao immediately took the two Starry Sky Corpse demons into the Dragon's Seal space before the three of them returned. As soon as he left, the three of them returned. Sensing the chaotic aura around them, the three of them instantly knew what had happened. Longao had lured the tiger away from the mountain. If it was just Longao alone, he definitely wouldn't be Fang Shan's opponent. However, the current situation was a little special. For some reason, Longao had managed to deal with the world-destroying Berserk Dragon. Therefore, the current Longao had the strength to kill Fang Shan. Fortunately, Fang Shan was fine. Otherwise, the Empire would have lost another person who could become a titled world king in the future. Where's Longao? He's already in the spatial artifact. Fang Shan was very unhappy. Even now, he was still a little scared. If the three of them hadn't returned in time, he might have already died. Fang Shan, I'm sorry this time. I also didn't expect Longao to do this. As the Emperor of the Heaven-Devouring Empire, it was already very good that Shen Ting could do this. If it was the Emperor of another star empire, would they do the same? Fang Shan was also very clear that the other party was anxious to kill Longao. However, he still felt a little uncomfortable. He asked, "Your Majesty, I want to ask you something. Was Jin Xing killed by Longao?" "Yes. I hope there won't be a next time." "No problem." Shenting was very straightforward. No matter what, he had used Fang Shan this time. Chapter 2093. Even now, the four of them were still in a daze. Longao's doppelganger was a little too powerful. Even the three titled world kings couldn't suppress it. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. After missing this opportunity, it wouldn't be easy to lure Longao out again. Shenting was furious. It was all because of his carelessness that Longao escaped. If he hadn't chased after the clone and hid instead, Longao would have died. "Are you going to leave just like that?" Just as the four of them were about to leave, Longao's voice came from all directions. "Longao, come out and fight if you have the ability. Why are you sneaking around?" Previously, Longao had hidden in his spatial artifact and didn't dare to come out. Now, he was doing the same. As a titled world king, it was a tragedy that he couldn't do anything to a mere universal domain emperor. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. 4 against 1, I wonder if you're shameless? Shen Ting and the other two released their astral domains and covered the entire Blackwood Cliff. As long as Longao dared to appear, he wouldn't be able to hide in his spatial artifact. He was furious, like a volcano that was about to erupt. Blackwood Cliff fell into silence. Longao didn't say anything else. Shen Ting and the other three didn't say anything either. "Longao, do you think you can survive after provoking my heaven-devouring empire?" "Ha, Shen Ting, you think too highly of yourself and your heaven-devouring empire. If you could kill me, I wouldn't be alive now." Longao was speaking the truth. Whether it was the cosmic sect or the heaven-devouring empire, they were both giants to Longao. Under normal circumstances, they could kill Longao in a matter of minutes. But in the end, not only did the cosmic sect fail to kill Longao, but they were also annihilated by Longao. Other than Ancestor Qianquan and Fang Xia, everyone else was killed. Cosmic sect was also destroyed. If it hadn't happened, would anyone have believed it? As for the current heaven-devouring empire, it was even stronger than Qianquan sect. No one would believe that Longao could do anything to the heaven-devouring empire. Chen Ting was depressed to the extreme. As long as Longao didn't make a move, they wouldn't be able to kill Longao. If this continued, it wouldn't be good for the heaven-devouring empire. What should he do? Even the three of them were unable to lock onto Longao's spatial artifact. "Your Majesty, according to my guess, even though Longao can hide in the spatial artifact, he won't be able to use the spatial artifact to teleport." He nodded. "I think so too, but even if Longao can't move, as long as he doesn't appear, we can't do anything to him." The more he thought about it, the more depressed he felt. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Gritting his teeth, Chen Ting sneered and said, "Let's all leave the Blackwood Cliff. From now on, we will try our best to seal the Blackwood Cliff. I don't believe that Longao will always hide in the Space Divine Tool." Shunzhua shook his head and said helplessly, "Your Majesty, with Longao's talent, as long as he doesn't come out even if he dies, what will we do in 100 years or 1,000 years? Shin He nodded and said, "You're right. No one can guarantee that Longao won't break through in 100 years or even 1,000 years. Once Longao breaks through to the titled World King realm, we'll be in an even more passive position. If it was anyone else, no one would believe that they could break through to the titled World King realm. Except for Longao. Longao's situation was very special. No one could guarantee that Longao wouldn't break through to the titled World King realm. It was better to be safe than sorry. What if Longao really broke through to the titled World King realm? How could Shinting not know what the two elders were worried about? Thinking for a moment, he said, "The three of us will join forces to seal this place. Even if Longao had 3 heads and 6 arms, he won't be able to leave Blackwood Cliff." No one said anything. This was because the 3 of them knew that His Majesty had already thought of a foolproof plan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done this. To be on the safe side, we will draw out all of the power of the starry skies from Blackwood Cliff and fill it with the power of corrosion. Like this, even if Longao doesn't appear, as long as the spatial divine tool is still within Blackwood Cliff, it will be constantly corroded by the power of corrosion. Longao will undoubtedly die. The 3 of them smiled. To lose Blackwood Cliff in exchange for killing Longao, this was worth it. The 3 titled World King powerhouses joined forces to seal Blackwood Cliff and also drew out all of the power of the starry skies from Blackwood Cliff to replace it with the so-called power of corrosion. Like this, anyone who entered Blackwood Cliff would be completely corroded in just a few minutes. Blackwood Cliff had already turned into a dark cliff. All around there was a dark gray air current. This was the so-called power of corrosion. Within the dragon seal space, Long Fu helplessly said, "Master, Chern Ting and the others are too ruthless. Not only did they draw out all of the power of the starry skies from Blackwood Cliff, but they also filled it with the power of corrosion. Even the dragon seal is unable to completely resist this power of corrosion. There shouldn't be a problem for a short period of time, but as time passes, I fear that this corrosion will affect you and me." Longao certainly knew what Long Fu meant. If this was something that could be solved, Long Fu wouldn't have bothered him. It seemed that the power of corrosion within Blackwood Cliff was terrifying. Even the dragon seal wasn't able to completely resist it. "Long Fu, what should I do?" "Master, you cultivate here first. Let me think of a solution and see what we can do." "All right." Longao wasn't worried at all. The more this situation was, the more he needed to be calm. Longao sat down on the ground and began to cultivate. The grayish-black air current flowed all over the Blackwood Cliff, constantly eroding everything in the Blackwood Cliff. The flowers, plants, and trees were all completely eroded. Chern Ting was very confident in his seal and the power of corrosion. Longao could last for a month, but could he last for a year? 10 years? Or even 100 years? Longao's death was certain. Because of this, Chern Ting wasn't prepared to pay attention to Blackwood Cliff. He would wait for the seal to be opened a year later. At that time, he would know whether Longao was still alive or not. Chern Ting didn't deliberately hide the fact that Longao was trapped in Blackwood Cliff. The news spread across the entire devouring sky realm. No one was surprised. It would be strange if Longao could really shake the devouring sky empire. Longao's death was certain. In the courtyard, Heifeng and Ji Mei had also received the news. Both of them were shocked. Heifeng said solemnly, "Ji Mei, Brother Long has been sealed in Blackwood Cliff by Chinting. What should we do?" "I don't care what you think. I will definitely go and save Brother Long. I must succeed." Chapter 2094. Spray of Plum Blossom didn't even hesitate. Heifeng's face was solemn. He said helplessly, "Spray of Plum Blossom, I know what you mean. Do you think I'm afraid of death?" Spray of Plum Blossom didn't say anything because he felt uncomfortable. He didn't expect Heifeng to ask him if he should help. "Spray of Plum Blossom, what do you think are our chances of saving Brother Long if we rush to the heaven-devouring empire?" "Almost zero." He spoke the truth. Spray of Plum Blossom knew the strength of the heaven-devouring empire. As the ruler of tens of thousands of worlds, the heaven-devouring empire's strength was self-evident. Just the 3 titled world kings alone were enough to sweep through tens of thousands of worlds. Spray of Plum Blossom knew that if the two of them forced their way into the heaven-devouring empire, they would probably die there. Haifeng knew that Spray of Plum Blossom had thought it through. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to continue. Spray of Plum Blossom, if we want to save Brother Long, we can only use our wits and not brute force. You're right. It seems like we have to think about it carefully. Spray of Plum Blossom and Haifeng were worried about Longao's safety. Blackwood Cliff. The Blackwood Cliff was still covered in a gray fog. The corrosive force was like a tornado that swept across the entire cliff. Longao was still hiding in the dragon seal space. As long as the seal of the Blackwood Cliff wasn't broken, he would definitely be corroded by the corrosive force once he left the dragon seal space. Even Long Fu was wary of the dragon seal space. It was obvious what the situation outside was like. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Longao opened his eyes and stood up. Long Fu, have you thought of a way? Yes, master. I have already thought of a way to leave the Blackwood Cliff. He was overjoyed. Long Fu's method was simple. He would borrow the power of the dragon seal to give Spray of Plum Blossom a taste of his own medicine. The dragon mark released its power and started to slowly fuse with the corrosive power, and it started to counterattack. Gradually, the corrosive power started to disappear. Under normal circumstances, the power of the universe in the Blackwood Cliff had been sucked dry. Even if the corrosive force disappeared, there wouldn't be any more power unless the seal was broken. However, Long Fu had a solution. Since entering the vast starry sky, Long Fu had been constantly devouring the power of the starry sky. It was more than enough for him to release the power of the starry sky. Blackwood Cliff. Longao gazed at the endless void in front of him. No one knew what he was thinking. Although the corrosive force was temporarily dispelled, it was unable to break the seal. Longao was very clear that with 3 titled world kings joining forces to seal him, even Long Fu wouldn't be able to break the seal, much less him. He definitely wouldn't be able to leave Blackwood Cliff. If he stayed here to cultivate, Longao was confident that he could become a Starry Sky Realm Lord in at most 100 years. But could he really do that? Definitely not. If it was purely for cultivation, there was no need for him to enter the vast starry sky. He could have just stayed in the Tianwu continent. The Sky Martial continent was much safer than the vast universe. The most important thing for this trip into the vast starry sky was to find the whereabouts of Bai Ling and Xiling. Secondly, he had to find the Luan clan and investigate the mystery of his birth. Therefore, no matter what, he couldn't stay in Blackwood Cliff. He had to find a way to leave as soon as possible. Master Chun Ting and the other 2 are titled World Kings. Their combined strength is too strong. With Long Ying's current situation, it's impossible for him to break the seal. Longao already knew about this. He was helpless. Long Fu, is there no way at all? There is. Long Ying can forcefully break the seal. If that's the case, Long Ying and I will fall into an endless slumber. Forget it. Longao definitely wouldn't let Long Ying take the risk and fall into an endless slumber. The price was too great. He couldn't bear it. What should he do? Longao came to the entrance of Blackwood Cliff. There were 3 titled world kings joining forces to seal this place. He definitely couldn't just sit there and wait for death. Longao took out the Samsara sword. With a flip of his hand, he used his strongest sword. The terrifying Samsara sword chi was like lightning, ruthlessly slashing at the seal. Without a doubt, the Samsara sword chi was unable to break the seal of the astral domain. He opened the Samsara heavenly eye, but still couldn't break the seal. He tried everything he could think of, but still couldn't succeed. Longao stared at the seal in front of him. Was he really going to be sealed here until he broke through to the Starry Sky World King realm? He had to risk it. Longao didn't want to stay here for even a moment. After thinking about it, he prepared to use the so-called shattering starry sky. However, He knew that he couldn't do it with his own strength unless he borrowed Long Fu's strength. Master, if you force it, I'm afraid you'll suffer a backlash. I've already thought about it. You can transfer your strength to the 2 Starry Sky Corps slaves. Then, I'll borrow their strength to break the seal. There shouldn't be much of a problem. Long Fu also knew the seriousness of the matter. He didn't say anything more. He immediately mobilized all the strength of Long Ying and crazily poured it into the 2 Starry Sky Corps slaves. Success or failure depended on this move. Longao directly used the shattering Starry Sky. He used it 20 times in a row. In the next second, cracks in the starry sky began to appear where the seal was. They crazily swallowed the seal, and in less than a few minutes, the seal laid down by the 3 titled world kings was completely swallowed up by the cracks in the starry sky. Longao was overjoyed when the seal was broken. In truth, Longao didn't know that the reason he was able to break the seal this time was because of luck. If it were some other seal-breaking Dao, not to mention him, even a Starry Sky World King wouldn't be able to break the seal. No matter what, the seal laid down by 3 titled world kings was simply too powerful. The nemesis of the seal was the cracks in the starry sky, also known as the shattering starry sky. The cracks in the starry sky were known as the nemesis of all cultivators in the starry sky. No matter who it was, they could be swallowed by the cracks in the starry sky, including the so-called seal. Moreover, Longao had borrowed the strength of Long Ying and the 2 Starry Sky Corps slaves. No matter what was said, Longao had still managed to break through the joint seal of 3 titled world kings. If this matter were to spread out, Longao would definitely be able to shake the entire universe. This was because such a matter was completely unprecedented and would never be repeated in the future. If this matter was spread out, it was still unknown whether people would believe it. After leaving Blackwood Cliff, Longao didn't immediately leave the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Instead, he snuck into the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Since you're heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. Longao didn't hold back this time. Since he was angry at the Heaven-Devouring Empire, he immediately started to kill the people of the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Longao placed all the corpses neatly outside the Heaven-Devouring Empire and quickly left. By the time the Heaven-Devouring Empire reacted, Longao had already disappeared without a trace. Chapter 2095. Looking at the corpse, Chen Ting's first reaction wasn't anger, but disbelief. Without any hesitation, he rushed to Blackwood Cliff. Blackwood Cliff. The corrosive energy had disappeared, and Blackwood Cliff was filled with the power of the stars. Not only that, the seal that the 3 of them had set up had been broken. Without a doubt, the 3 of them knew who had done it. Was Longao really that powerful? Your Majesty, how did Longao do it? How did he do it? I also want to know how Longao did it. This was a seal set up by 3 titled world kings. Not to mention a mere Starry Sky Domain Emperor, even a Starry Sky Realm King wouldn't be able to break the seal. Anger. At this moment, killing intent surged out of Chen Ting's body. To him, this was a humiliation. There was no wall in the world that didn't have a crack. Unknowingly, the news of Longao breaking the seal and leaving Blackwood Cliff and killing dozens of people spread across the entire heaven-devouring plain. Everyone's first reaction was disbelief. Was this possible? It was almost impossible. How could Longao break the seal set up by 3 titled world kings? At first, they didn't believe it, but slowly, it was confirmed. Everyone still found it hard to believe. They didn't know how Longao did it. Everyone was certain that Longao's strength wasn't enough to shake the heaven-devouring empire. Otherwise, Longao wouldn't have been sealed in Blackwood Cliff. The more it was so, the more incredulous it was. Just as Yi Mei and Haifeng were about to save Longao, they were overjoyed when they heard that Longao had escaped. They also heaved a sigh of relief. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid. No matter what, the heaven-devouring empire was strong. If they went, they would die without a doubt. They were like moths to a flame. Even though they knew that they were going to die, they didn't hesitate. This was what friends were like. They wouldn't hesitate to go through fire and water for their friends. Before long Ao returned to his courtyard, the heaven-devouring empire sent him a message. The empire had captured a traitor who colluded with Long Ao Yi. Yi, the starry sky domain lord, had decent talent and strength. So it was a traitor. No matter where they were, they despised traitors. While they despised Yi, they were also wondering how the devouring sky empire would treat this traitor. There was no doubt that no matter how they tortured him in the beginning, there would only be one result in the end, and that was death. In the courtyard, seeing that Long Ao had returned unscathed, both Plum Blossom and Haifeng were pleasantly surprised. While they were pleasantly surprised, the two of them were also deeply moved. What Brother Long has done is absolutely unprecedented and will never be replicated in the future. Brother Long, it's good to see that you're fine. The two of them suddenly realized that something was wrong. Ever since they returned, Long Ao's expression had been very solemn, as if he had something on his mind. What was going on? Could something have happened? Before the two of them could ask, Long Ao said, I believe you've already received the news that the heaven-devouring empire has captured a traitor named Yi Zi. Yi Zi is my friend. That's right, he had already treated Yi as a friend. Even though he didn't know how his relationship with Yi had been exposed, he knew that it was because of him that Yi had fallen under the control of the heaven-devouring empire. If he didn't make a move, Yi Zi would have died. Brother Long, don't tell me that you're going to enter the heaven-devouring empire to save this person? The two of them knew Long Ao's character too well. However, the current situation was too special. They could imagine what would happen if Long Ao stepped into the heaven-devouring empire. He would definitely die. Knowing that there was a tiger in the mountain, he still wanted to go there? Long Ao suddenly laughed. Yi Zi is my friend. If the two of you are in danger, I will save you without hesitation. Haifeng and Plum Blossom laughed when they heard that. They didn't continue trying to persuade Long Ao because they knew that no one could stop him. Brother Long, we'll go with you. We can take care of each other. Long Ao shook his head. How could he let the two of them take such a risk? If it was any other place or person, he might be able to bring the two of them along. However, he couldn't do that now. With the strength of the heaven-devouring empire and the dragon seal space, as long as he was careful, it wouldn't be easy for Shunting and the others to kill him. However, the two of them were in completely different situations. If they followed him to the heaven-devouring empire, it was obvious what would happen. I'm confident that I can save Yi Zi. The two of you wait for me here. Haifeng and Plum Blossom looked at each other and saw a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. The two of them knew why Long Ao didn't want them to go to the heaven-devouring empire. Long Ao didn't go to the heaven-devouring empire immediately. He wasn't a fool and knew what the heaven-devouring empire was thinking. Under normal circumstances, the heaven-devouring empire would have killed the traitor immediately after capturing him. How would they have the time to spread the news? It wasn't just the heaven-devouring empire. However, what about the heaven-devouring empire? Not only did they not kill Yi Zi, they even spread the news on purpose. What was the meaning of this? The only explanation was that the heaven-devouring empire wanted to use Yi Zi as bait to lure him to the heaven-devouring empire. Long Ao smiled helplessly. He had used old ancestor Qian Kuan as bait from the start. Who would have thought that the heaven-devouring empire would do the same thing again in less than a day? They were truly shameless. Many people had already guessed the heaven-devouring empire's intentions. However, in this vast universe where the strong were respected, no one would look down on them. Instead, they would take it for granted. If the heaven-devouring empire was in Longao's place, the situation would be different. Heaven-devouring empire. At the peak of the sky-devouring peak, there was a huge square. It was extremely big and could hold at least a few 100,000 people. But now there were only a few people in the huge square. Moreover, there was a bamboo pole erected in the square. It was about 10 meters long, and at the top of the bamboo pole there was a person tied up. A person who looked half dead. The person tied to the pole was none other than Yi Zi. In front of the heaven-devouring palace. Your Majesty, after what happened last time, I'm afraid that Longao won't dare to come. Would Longao dare to come? Shenzhua and Shen, he didn't have the slightest bit of confidence. After all, Longao was almost killed by the three of them previously. Unless Longao was crazy, he wouldn't dare to come. Even Shunting wasn't sure if Longao would come. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't dare to come. However, the same couldn't be said for Longao. Chapter 2096. Shunting couldn't wait to kill Longao. As for the treasures on Longao's body, they weren't as important as killing Longao. If Longao didn't die, the Empire's reputation wouldn't be guaranteed. Until now, the three of them still couldn't be sure of the relationship between Longao and Yi Zi. If Yi Zi was just an ordinary friend, would Longao still come? In the face of life, everything else was nonsense. They couldn't be sure. The three of them definitely hoped that Longao would come. However, with the previous experience, the three of them were having a hard time this time. If they fought head-on, they wouldn't be afraid of Longao. However, the problem was that Longao didn't fight them head-on. Instead, he kept dodging their attack. In addition to the secrets on Longao, even if the three of them worked together, they wouldn't be able to trap Longao. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Was Longao really just a Starry Sky Domain King? A Starry Sky Domain King could do something that even a Starry Sky Realm King couldn't do. It wasn't just the heaven-devouring empire. Everyone was looking forward to seeing if Longao would go to the heaven-devouring empire. Would he? Or wouldn't he? Longao's counterattacks had piqued everyone's curiosity. Even so, no one believed that Longao could shake the heaven-devouring empire. It was too unrealistic. However, for Longao to be able to do this, he had already swept through everyone. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Gradually, everyone, including Shunting, accepted the fact that Longao didn't go to the heaven-devouring empire. However, no one despised or mocked him. If it was someone else, would they dare to do so? Of course not. No one wasn't afraid of death, especially when facing the powerful heaven-devouring empire. If Longao really went to the heaven-devouring empire, he would be a fool. The sun was scorching hot. The leaf that was tied to the bamboo pole only had half a breath left and could die at any time. Now, Yi was like an ordinary person because Shunting had sealed his strength. How could an ordinary person withstand dozens of days of torture? Yi Zi, are you alright? He had been tortured beyond recognition. Yi thought that he had misheard. Was he hallucinating? Yi Zi knew that Senior Longao wouldn't come to the heaven-devouring empire for him. He didn't hate Senior Longao because that was the reality. After all, his relationship with Senior Longao wasn't that good. It was all his own fault. If he hadn't told his good friend about this, he wouldn't have fallen to such a state. He couldn't blame anyone else. Yi had already decided to die. On the huge square, there were only a few people cleaning up. As for Chunting and the others, they were not there. The reason was simple. After waiting for dozens of days, everyone believed that Longao would definitely not come. As for Ye's life and death, would Chunting and the others care about it? Not to mention the Starry Sky Domain Lord, even the Starry Sky Sector Lord would be killed without a doubt. The heaven-devouring empire would never allow such a thing to happen. Yi Zi, are you alright? The voice came again. Seems like I'm not far from death. Yi Zi sighed deeply and raised his head helplessly. Looking at the huge sun shining on him, he was prepared to die at any moment. F***ck, did you hear my voice or not? After confirming that he hadn't heard wrongly, Yi Zi's face was filled with joy and disbelief. He couldn't believe that Senior Longao was really here. Without a doubt, the reason why Senior Longao came this time was definitely to save him. Was this true? He would be lying if he said that he wasn't moved. Yi was very clear about his identity, and the identity of Senior Longao. He had never thought that he would be friends with Senior Longao. Even more so, he didn't think that Senior Longao would take the risk to enter the heaven-devouring empire for him. Senior Longao, you have to be careful. Yi Zi looked around, but he still couldn't find Senior Longao. He didn't know how Longao did it. Yi, you have to hang in there. I can't save you right now. I know. Yi Zi knew how serious the situation was. This was the headquarters of the heaven-devouring empire. He didn't know where Shunting and the others were. If he let his guard down, he would be doomed. Longao's voice disappeared completely. Longao realized that his luck was too good. It was so good that he didn't know what to do. The dragon seal, which had been unable to shift its position all this time, was suddenly able to shift its position 10 days ago. What did this mean? This was also why Longao was delayed for 10 days. As for why the dragon seal could suddenly change its position, it was because of Longao's help. Otherwise, who knew how long it would take for the dragon seal to change its position? With the dragon seal's help, Longao no longer had any worries. Since the dragon seal could change its position, there was no doubt that Longao could do anything he wanted in the vast universe. Even a titled world king wouldn't be able to do anything to him. This was the strength of the dragon seal. According to Long Fu, the dragon seal hadn't even recovered a tenth of its original strength. It was hard to imagine how strong the dragon seal would be at its peak. The reason why Longao didn't immediately save Yi was because he could clearly feel that the surroundings were covered by the domain of the astral world. If he took action, what if Yi was killed? He didn't need to worry at all. With the help of the dragon seal, he could leave at any time. Only Yi didn't. This was because he was well aware of just how strong a titled world king was. Perhaps he wouldn't even need a second to kill Yi. Longao thought of a perfect plan. In the next second, the reincarnation doppelganger suddenly descended. All of its power was crazily suppressing the reincarnation doppelganger. However, with the reincarnation doppelganger's physical defense, would it be affected? The opportunity had come. This was the effect Longao wanted. Just as everyone was suppressing the Samsara avatar, Longao immediately appeared in front of the bamboo pole. In a short second, he rescued Yi from the pole and entered the dragon seal space. Chunting and the others couldn't determine whether the Samsara avatar was the real Longao or not. If they could be sure, they wouldn't have been tricked so many times. It was because of this that they were shocked by the fact that Longao had a Samsara avatar. Even if someone else had a Samsara avatar, it was impossible for them to have the exact same aura. Moreover, their defensive strength was so strong that even a titled world king wouldn't be able to kill them. Chunting and the others instantly appeared. Seeing that Yi had disappeared from the bamboo pole and Longao had appeared, they knew that they had been tricked by Longao again. They could only watch helplessly as Yi rescued Yi from under their noses. The heaven-devouring empire's face had been completely lost. Chapter 2097. There was no doubt about it. Longao had come to the heaven-devouring empire to save Yi. As for his grudge with the heaven-devouring empire, he would deal with it in the future. After saving Yi, Longao recalled his reincarnation avatar and left. The dragon seal was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had disappeared without a trace. Shen Ting and the other two couldn't catch up to it even if they wanted to. Shen Ting's face was as ugly as it could be. This was the greatest humiliation in the history of the heaven-devouring empire. Your Majesty, what should we do now? Seal off the news. Just say that Yi has been executed. Shen He and Shen Zhuo knew what Shen Ting meant. If the news were to spread, the consequences would be unimaginable. But could they keep the news a secret? The heaven-devouring empire might have sealed off the news, but Longao didn't. No one knew if it was intentional or not, but Longao had spread the news that he had killed Yi the moment he left the heaven-devouring empire. It had shaken the entire heaven-devouring realm. On one hand, there was no news, but on the other hand, there was a solemn vow that he had saved Yi. Who was telling the truth? Everyone believed in the heaven-devouring empire. After all, it was impossible for Longao to save Yi alone. No matter what, the difference in strength between Longao and the heaven-devouring empire was too great. The heaven-devouring empire remained silent. Silence meant admission? Slowly, everyone started to believe that Longao had saved Yi from the heaven-devouring empire. Even so, there were still many who refused to believe it. In the courtyard. Big Brother Haifeng, how are Ye's injuries? He's fine now. However, I'm afraid his cultivation will drop to grade 6 Starry Sky realm after he recovers. It was just that his realm had decreased. Longao was relieved. It was fine as long as he didn't die. As for his cultivation, Longao had already decided to give Yi a Starry Sky Domain Emperor Godhead after he recovered from his injuries. In that case, with Ye's talent, he believed that he would be able to recover to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm very quickly. Senior Longao, I don't want to leave. I want to stay and help you. Longao's original plan was to wait for Ye's injuries to heal. However, under such circumstances, it was not safe for Yi to stay by his side. The only way was to leave the devouring sky plane as soon as possible. Recuperate first. Remember, after leaving the devouring sky plane, find a low-level plane to hide in. Yi sighed deeply in his heart. He was very clearly aware that if he were to forcefully stay behind with his strength, then not only would he be unable to help Senior Longao, he might even become a burden to Senior Longao. With no other choice, Yi could only choose to leave. This is a universal domain Emperor's Godhead. Take it first. Thank you, Senior. Yi knew very well what the Space Domain Emperor's Godhead meant to him. After this incident, his cultivation dropped from a Starry Sky Domain Lord to a Grade 6 Starry Sky Cultivator. Moreover, the Starry Sky Domain Emperor's Godhead he had devoured previously was also lost. Haifeng and Yi Mei personally escorted Yi out. Since Yi was alone, Longao couldn't be at ease. The news that Longao had single-handedly rescued Yi from the heaven-devouring empire had been confirmed. Everyone was shocked when they heard the news. No one knew how Longao had done it. Could it be that the people in the heaven-devouring empire were useless? The heaven-devouring empire was filled with experts. Not to mention other Starry Sky cultivators, there were even more titled world kings. As for Longao, he was only a Starry Sky Domain Emperor. Longao had humiliated the heaven-devouring empire time and time again, but the heaven-devouring empire didn't have the slightest ability to retaliate. It was a huge joke. The heaven-devouring empire's reputation instantly hit rock bottom. In this situation, Chen Ting was also helpless. As the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire, he couldn't escape the blame for tarnishing the empire's reputation. While Shen Ting blamed himself, he was also furious. Longao was clearly provoking the empire, provoking him. If he didn't kill Longao, where would his reputation go? Where would the empire's reputation go? Shen Ting's anger made everyone in the heaven-devouring realm feel threatened. No one knew if the heaven-devouring empire's anger would affect them. Shen Ting personally ordered that anyone who had news of Longao would be heavily rewarded. When there was a reward, there would definitely be someone willing to do it. Countless people began to search for Longao. Not only that, but the heaven-devouring empire also sent out countless experts, including 10 Starry Sky Realm kings. What kind of concept was this? With such a powerful force, it was more than enough to destroy the entire Starry Sky Realm, let alone a single person. A total of 10 Starry Sky Realm kings was a little too powerful. Everyone knew that the heaven-devouring empire was truly angered this time. Otherwise, they wouldn't have mobilized 10 Starry Sky Realm kings. Starry Sky Realm kings were the foundation of the heaven-devouring empire. Losing one was equivalent to losing a Starry Sky Realm king. Normally, it was difficult for the heaven-devouring empire to casually mobilize a Starry Sky Realm king. This battle, regardless of whether Longao won or lost, it was already enough. Not to mention a single person, even the other Starry Sky Realms wouldn't be able to force the heaven-devouring empire to such a state. The heaven-devouring realm began to search for Longao. The heaven-devouring empire conducted a thorough search. However, the heaven-devouring realm was different from other realms. Among the high-grade realms, the heaven-devouring realm was one of the strongest. As for the size of the realm, one could imagine how big it was. It could be said that the heaven-devouring realm was so big that even 1,000 universe realms wouldn't be able to withstand it. One could imagine how big the heaven-devouring realm was. Even if this was the headquarters of the heaven-devouring empire, it wouldn't be easy to find a single person. Moreover, Longao was deliberately hiding. The speed of the search was extremely slow. After all, manpower was limited. As for the other small clans and sects, although they were helping the heaven-devouring empire to search for Longao's whereabouts, they didn't do anything. Although the temptation was great, their lives were more important. Longao was able to kill Jin Xing and escape from the hands of a titled world king twice. This was enough to prove that Longao wasn't simple. If even the Starry Sky Realm King wasn't a match for Longao, then what about the others? There was no doubt about it. No one would think that their lives were too long. However, there were still those who were willing to sacrifice their lives for the sake of money. They hoped to be rewarded by the heaven-devouring empire and soar into the sky like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Longao and the other two had already changed their location several times. After disguising themselves, the three of them weren't worried at all. On a bustling street, the three of them bought a courtyard to settle down. The heaven-devouring empire definitely wouldn't have thought that Longao would be so daring. Chapter 2098. Countless bustling streets. Brother Long, it seems like the heaven-devouring empire is truly enraged this time. They've sealed off the entire area to search for you. He disagreed. Longao said indifferently, Chen Ting got angry every time, but I didn't see him do anything big. It won't be easy for him to find us. Black Wind and Spray of Plum Blossom nodded in agreement. Although the heaven-devouring empire was powerful, it was not omnipotent. The heaven-devouring plane was so large that it was like looking for a needle in a haystack to find a single person in such a short time. Brother Long, what should we do next? Black Wind and Spray of Plum Blossom were still worried. As long as they didn't leave the devouring sky plane, their safety couldn't be guaranteed. The two of them knew Longao's character very well. Since things had already reached this point, how could Longao choose to give up so easily? If it was anyone else, would they dare to go against the heaven-devouring empire? Except for Longao, a lunatic who was not afraid of anything. I'll take it one step at a time. With my current strength, it's impossible for me to shake the heaven-devouring empire. However, I believe that my efforts will succeed. It was easier said than done for water to penetrate a stone. The two of them looked at each other and saw deep helplessness and worry in each other's eyes. There were many experts in the heaven-devouring empire. There were at least 100 Starry Sky Realm Kings and at least 15 Starry Sky Realm Kings, not including the 3 titled World Kings. Just the thought of such terrifying strength was terrifying. You two don't have to worry. After killing Jin Xing, I have a Cosmos Overlord Godhead with me. Since I wasn't able to successfully refine it, I haven't taken it out yet. You two can discuss it and see who will be the one to devour it. After hearing Longao's words, both Izzet Plum and Haifeng were stunned. A Starry Sky Realm Lord Spark was different from other things. Even in the vast universe, it was an extremely valuable item. The two shook their heads and said in unison, "Brother Long, we cannot accept your Starry Sky Godhead. The Cosmic Sovereign Spark was truly a bit too valuable. If it were the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead, they might be able to accept it. However, their cultivation had already broken through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestors Godhead, so it wouldn't be of much use to them. As for the Starry Sky Realm Master Godhead, he absolutely could not accept it." Longao smiled. "I believe the two of you are aware of my situation. I will never devour a Starry Sky Godhead. If the two of you really want to help me, you have to improve your strength as quickly as possible." Both of them had reached a bottleneck in their cultivation bases, especially after devouring the godhood of the Starry Sky. It was almost impossible for them to advance any further. The only way was to continue devouring godhoods. "Brother Long, forget it. It seems that you all are unwilling to help me. Since that's the case, I'll find someone else to devour the Starry Sky Godhead." Wait. He couldn't let others take advantage of him. It was unrealistic to say that he did not want to devour the Starry Sky Realm Master God's divine spark. Both of them were well aware of what the Starry Sky World Overlord Godhead represented. As long as the two of them, no matter which one of them devoured the Universal Overlord Godhead, they would be able to break through to the Universal Overlord realm in an extremely short period of time. The gap between the Territory Ancestor realm and the Territory Master of Starry Sky was too big. It was like an uncrossable gap. How about the two of us try to sense this astral boundary Overlord Godhead? This was the fairest thing to do. Looking at the Starry Sky World Overlord Godhead in their hands, both of them released their own energy and began to comprehend the Starry Sky World Overlord Godhead. Both of them had already decided that the Starry Sky World Overlord Godhead would belong to whoever sensed it first. "Black Wind, you are so lucky." Iji Mei smiled without a trace of resentment. As for envy, it was impossible. Haifeng didn't hesitate because the sooner he broke through to the Universal Realm Lord level, the sooner he could help Longao. Blackwind immediately devoured the Starry Sky Realm Master God Spark, then found a secluded place to begin cultivating. "Iji Mei, I'll help you find the Cosmic Realm Master Godhead as soon as possible." Nothing was said. Everything was conveyed in silence. As Blackwind devoured the godhood, Plum Blossom stood guard. After all, it was best not to disturb him at a time like this. Longao had already disguised himself. Even if he walked on the streets, no one would be able to recognize him. After the Heaven-Devouring Empire issued the kill order, many people believed that Longao wouldn't dare to stay any longer. If there were no accidents, he should have left the Heaven-Devouring realm. No matter how arrogant Longao was, it was impossible for him to shake the entire Heaven-Devouring Empire by himself. Right now, the Heaven-Devouring Empire was a joke, a huge joke. For countless years, since the establishment of the Heaven-Devouring Empire, such a thing had never happened before. To the Heaven-Devouring Empire, it was a great humiliation. In the area where Longao was located, the strongest force was the Heaven-Een sect. The master of the Heaven-Een sect, Hao Chen, was also a powerful universe territory ancestor. In the main hall, the master of the Heaven-Een sect, Hao Chen, and the Grand Elder, Hao Feng, sat quietly in the main hall. "Master, since Longao dares to provoke the Heaven-Devouring Empire, He's definitely not weak. Even if the rumors are true and Longao is just a universe territory emperor, we shouldn't act rashly. If we fail to capture Longao, we'll go for wool and come home shorn. Hao Feng was very depressed. He really could not figure out why the sect master would make a move to deal with Longao for no reason. Once a madman who was not afraid of anything was angered by Longao, wouldn't it be causing trouble for his own sect? Hao Chen's intention was simple. He wanted to suck up to the heaven-devouring empire. Even if there were 2 universe territory ancestors in the heaven-devouring realm, they were nothing in the heaven-devouring realm. Hao Chen was taking a gamble. If he won, he would be able to climb up the heaven-devouring empire's tree. At that time, the Heaven Music sect would be able to rise to a higher level. Even becoming a subsidiary of the heaven-devouring empire would be a good thing. This is an opportunity for the Heaven Music sect. How could Hao Feng not know the meaning of the sovereign? He sighed deeply again. Although this matter was indeed an opportunity for the sovereign, but opportunity and danger coexisted. Hao Feng always had a bad premonition in his heart. If he was targeted by Longao, things would be troublesome. What should he do? Hao Chen seemed to be able to guess what the Great Elder was worried about. He smiled and said, "Great Elder, you worry too much. Longao is not very strong. He just has a treasure and a secret skill. As long as we can activate the Heavenly Sound spell and trap him." Hao Feng was shocked. "Master, we can't use the Heaven Music sect casually. If we destroy it, the consequences will be unimaginable." Hao Feng didn't expect the master to use the Heaven Music array to deal with Longao. Was he crazy? Chapter 2099. Just as the both of them were discussing how they should deal with Longao, "Both of you, there's no need to go through so much trouble." Following his words, Longao's figure descended. Ever since the dragon seal could change its position at will, Longao could go anywhere he wanted in the vast universe. Looking at this figure descending from the skies, be it Hao Chen or Hao Feng, both of their faces changed into one of disbelief. "You're Longao?" Both of them were no fools. Naturally, they could guess that this young man who had descended was the person they were discussing how to deal with. Longao, the legendary lunatic. Not only did he provoke Qianquan's sect, he even dared to disregard the heaven-devouring empire. If he were a titled world king, then so be it. But, according to the rumors, Longao was only a starry sky region king. What sort of a concept was that? "Didn't you guys say that you wanted to deal with me?" Longao smiled faintly. Starry Sky Region King? The both of them could clearly sense that this young man before them was definitely a Starry Sky Region King. Seemed like the rumors were true. That was indeed the case. They could not figure out how Longao could go against the heaven-devouring empire with his current strength. How in the world did Longao do it? They could not figure it out. They could not figure it out at all. "Longao, you must have misunderstood. How could we possibly go against you? This is a joke." Hao Feng was clear of Longao's methods. This was a lunatic who did not even care about the heaven-devouring empire, who could even kill Jin Sheng. Why would he care about a sect? If Longao were to set his sights on the sect, it would be over for the sect. As the Grand Elder of Heaven Cord sect, Hao Feng would definitely put the sect's interests first no matter what he did. As for Hao Chen? He laughed coldly. In order to suck up to the heaven-devouring empire, he could not care less about anything else. He knew that as long as he could kill Longao successfully, both he and the sect would rise in power. Longao, an honest man, does not resort to underhanded means. You didn't hear wrongly earlier on. I want to deal with you. What can you do about it? Ha ha ha! He laughed crazily. Longao was full of praise and said, "I like your character very much. Hao Chen, I want to ask you for a favor, how about it?" Asking for his help? Hao Chun simply wanted to laugh out loud, but in this situation, he really couldn't laugh out loud. Tell me about it. Hao Chun and the other two were also very curious. They didn't know what Longao wanted from them at this time. Under normal circumstances, anyone who had offended the heaven-devouring empire would have done everything they could to leave the heaven-devouring plane. However, Longao was the only one who didn't leave. It was unbelievable. I want to lure Shenting here. Chunting was a familiar name to both of them. Not just the people of Heaven Cord sect, but even the entire heaven-devouring empire and the vast universe would not be unfamiliar with this name. Not only was Chunting a titled world king, but he was also the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire. With a stomp of his foot, tens of thousands of worlds would tremble. Why did Longao lure Chunting and the others here? Did this man want to deal with Chunting and the others? What a reckless fool! Hao Chen and Hao Feng laughed out in disdain. They had seen arrogant people before, but this was the first time they had seen someone as arrogant as this. Longao, I would like to ask, what are your intentions in luring His Majesty here? I want to kill Chunting and the others. Big words. The two of them would definitely not believe this. Even a titled world king would not dare to say something like this, let alone Longao. If Longao had the strength to deal with Chunting, why would he wait until now? Why would he need their help? At the end of the day, Longao did not have the strength to kill Chunting. Do you have the qualifications? You don't have to judge if I have the qualifications or not. As long as you help me, I will remember this favor. Looking at how Longao did not seem to be joking, the two of them retracted their disdain. If it were anyone else, they would definitely not have believed him. Except for Longao. Longao fought against the heaven-devouring empire. Not only did he not die, but he also damaged the reputation of the heaven-devouring empire and killed Jin Sheng. Would this happen in the past? What if I don't agree? In the next second, a terrifying astral domain was released, suppressing the two of them. World Annihilation Mad Dragon? The two of them exclaimed. They had never imagined that Longao would have a World Annihilation Mad Dragon by his side. They knew very well what a World Annihilation Mad Dragon represented. At this moment, the two of them finally understood why Longao was able to kill Jin Sheng. With Longao's strength alone, it was impossible for him to do so. However, with the help of the World Annihilation Mad Dragon, the situation was completely different. The World Annihilation Mad Dragon was more than enough to kill Jin Sheng. The two of them retreated continuously, their faces fearful. Even though they were both Starry Sky territory ancestors, they might not be able to kill the World Annihilation Mad Dragon even if they joined hands. Were they going to die here? Hao Chun, who was arrogant a moment ago, was now like a mouse that had seen a cat. He only hoped that this murderous god would leave the sect as soon as possible. As for killing Longao, Hao Chun didn't dare to think about it anymore. As long as Longao didn't kill them, it would be fine. Master Hao, are you afraid? Humans were like this. They were a little despicable. A moment ago, Hao Chun was so arrogant as if he could kill him. However, when he saw the World Annihilation Mad Dragon, he acted like a mouse. This kind of person was despicable and shameless. Longao didn't take action because he had come to the Heaven Music sect to lure Chunting and the others here. If Hao Chun died, what should he do? Longao, there is no grudge between us. There is no need to kill me. How about you leave now? I will keep my mouth shut about what happened today. I promise I won't say a word. What do you think? Although he didn't say it out loud, Hao Chun was indeed afraid. Longao smiled. His smile was very strange. His smile made Hao Chun worried and scared. Hao Chun, I've already said that I'm here to ask for your help. I have no other intentions. You're right. There's no enmity between us, so I don't have to make things difficult for you. I hope you can help me with this. As long as Shun Ting and the others come, I can promise you that I won't do anything to the Heaven Music sect. What should he do? It was true that one could survive a disaster from heaven, but one couldn't survive a disaster from oneself. At this moment, Hao Feng suddenly said, Sir Longao, we promise you. However, we also have a condition. There is no problem in luring Chen Ting and the others here. However, you have to swear a blood oath that you will not attack anyone from the Heaven Music sect from now on. Even if you kill with a borrowed knife. What do you think? What did it mean to kill with a borrowed knife? There were several explanations for this. It depended on how the person looked at it. Longao didn't hesitate and immediately swore a blood oath. Chapter 2100. Since Longao was already in such a state, how could the two of them refuse? Left with no choice, the two of them could only agree. 2 hours later, a shocking piece of news came from the Heaven Cord sect. Longao was trapped in the Heaven Cord sect. Everyone was shocked when they heard the news. Many people couldn't figure out how the Heaven Cord sect did it when the Heaven-devouring Empire couldn't kill Longao. Heaven-devouring Empire. In a majestic hall, Chen Ting looked at the two elders in front of him and said, The Heaven Cord sect has sent news that Longao is trapped in the Heaven Cord formation. This time, we must kill him in one strike. Other than the 3 of us, 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings and 30 Starry Sky Realm Lords will be mobilized. Both Shen He and Shen Zhuo were shocked when they heard Chen Ting's words. Other than the 3 titled Realm Kings, 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings and 30 Starry Sky Realm Lords would be mobilized. Your Majesty, why don't the 3 of us, 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings and 30 Starry Sky Realm Lords stay behind to guard the Empire? Chen Ting thought about it. All right, let's go immediately. 3 titled Realm Kings and 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings. The 13 of them had shaken the entire heaven-devouring plain. It seemed like Chen Ting was really angry this time. The 13 of them headed to the Heaven Cord sect. Chen Ting never thought that the Heaven Cord sect would lie to him. Even if the Heaven Cord sect had 2 Starry Sky Realm ancestors, it wasn't on the same level as the Heaven-devouring Empire. Heaven Cord sect. All the core disciples had been relocated by the 2 of them. As for Hao Chen and Hao Feng, they had chosen to leave as well. The 2 of them knew that after this incident, whether it was the Heaven-devouring Empire or Longao's death, the Heaven Cord sect would be in trouble. As for the 2 of them, there was no doubt that they would die. The current Heaven Cord sect could be considered an empty shell. In the 9 heavens, the 13 Starry Sky Realm Kings released their astral domains and covered the entire Heaven Cord sect. If Longao was in the Heaven Cord sect, the 13 of them would be able to pinpoint his location. Moreover, according to the news from the Heaven Cord sect, Longao was trapped in the Heaven Cord formation. The 13 of them knew what the Heaven Cord formation. Some ordinary disciples? Not to mention Longao, even Hao Chen and Hao Feng were not present. What exactly happened? Chen Ting's face instantly turned gloomy as a bad premonition arose spontaneously. Could it be that the Heaven Music sect had been destroyed by Longao? If it had been someone else, or if it had been 3 years ago, Chen Ting would definitely not have believed it. But now, Shen Ting was very clear that Longao had the power to destroy the Heaven Cord sect. Longao might not be able to do it with his strength, but it didn't mean that the apocalyptic Mad Dragon couldn't do it. No matter what, the Heaven Sound sect only had 2 territory ancestors. How could the Heaven Sound sect resist the world-exterminating Mad Dragon? Thinking of this, Chen Ting's face became gloomier and uglier. Your Majesty, it seems that we are late. The 13 of them were already extremely fast, but even so, they were still too late. Just as the 13 of them were about to leave, rays of reincarnation sword chi came quickly. It was Longao's reincarnation lightning strike. With the strength of the 13 of them, of course, they were not afraid of Longao's attack. The 13 of them, who were about to leave, were suddenly attacked. They already knew what had happened. Not only did Longao destroy the Heaven Music sect, but he also dared to stay here. He was provoking them and completely ignoring the Empire. How could they bear it? Endless anger turned into billowing murderous intent. Longao, you are always a coward. Do you dare to be a real man? Chunting, you are always bullying others with numbers. Do you dare to be a real man? Chunting was speechless. What Longao said was true. Longao, among the 13 of us, you can choose any one of us to fight with you. I Chunting swear a blood oath. As long as you win, not only will the grudge between us be written off, I will also publicly apologize to you. Chunting was really angry. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such words. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Longao won, would Chunting really apologize publicly? Chunting was the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire. If he apologized publicly, he wouldn't only be representing himself, but the entire empire. However, Chunting was confident. Among the 13 of them, 3 were titled world kings, and the other 10 were sky world kings. Any one of them could sweep through any plane. With Longao's strength, even if he had the help of the world-destroying berserk dragon, he wouldn't be able to defeat the 13 of them. Chunting, to think that you are the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire. Shameless trash like you is really disgusting. If I were you, I would rather die than continue living. You are simply a waste of air. Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he wouldn't pick a random person to fight. What a joke. Any one of the 13 of them wasn't someone he could deal with. Chunting was only doing this to lure him out. The more Chunting did this, the more he wouldn't go out. Longao, what do you want? Chunting, I only have one request. As long as you are willing to abdicate, the grudge between me and the heaven-devouring empire will be written off. Abdicate. Longao's intention was clear. If Chunting chose to abdicate, it would mean that he would be the first emperor in the heaven-devouring empire to be forced to abdicate. It was simply a humiliation. Chunting's face darkened. Shunjua, who had been silent all this while, sneered, Longao, who do you think you are? Do you think you can force His Majesty to abdicate? Over the years, there had been countless emperors in the heaven-devouring empire. Chunting was one of the more outstanding emperors. Under Chunting's leadership, the heaven-devouring empire flourished day by day. There were even rumors that Chunting wanted to lead the heaven-devouring empire to invade other empires. One had to know that unless there was no other choice, no other empires would be willing to start a war. After all, every war between 2 empires would cause a storm of blood and corpses. From this, it could be seen how powerful an emperor Chunting was. He had great talent and strategy, so how could he give up the throne so easily? There was no need to even think about it, it was almost impossible. Waving his hand to stop Shunjua, Chunting smiled. Why are you wasting your breath on a coward? Longao, if you want to continue being a coward, I have nothing to say. Chunting turned around and prepared to leave with the 12 of them. It seemed like he was going to give up. But was that possible? Chapter 2101. Of course, Chunting and the others wouldn't choose to leave. Chunting thought that Longao wouldn't be able to hold himself back and come out. But what happened? Nothing happened. Not to mention Longao, not even a strand of Longao's hair could be seen. Your Majesty, what should we do now? They had mobilized 3 titled world kings and 10 starry sky world kings, but they still couldn't deal with Longao. This was a great humiliation to them. The humiliation piled on top of each other. It was a tragedy. Anger. Chunting was like a volcano that could erupt at any time. He couldn't figure out what gave Longao the confidence to provoke him and his empire. To say that Longao did not have a strong backer as a guarantee, even if he was beaten to death, he would not believe it. Something's not right. Shunting thought of something and said coldly, if there's a battle between the Heavenly Cord sect and Longao, there's no way we didn't hear anything. Your Majesty, are you suspecting that the Heavenly Cord sect and Longao are working together to deal with us? Shunting knew that it was impossible for Longao to destroy the Heavenly Cord sect without a sound, even if he had the world-destroying Berserk Dragon. Less than 10 minutes had passed. No matter how fast Longao was, how could he be faster than them? The only explanation was that the Heavenly Cord sect had betrayed the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Although the Heavenly Cord sect didn't belong to the Heaven-Devouring Empire, everyone knew that they had to submit to the Heaven-Devouring Empire. The Heavenly Cord sect was no exception. Bring me Hao Chun and Hao Feng. Yes. Hao Chun and Hao Feng were depressed. If they didn't agree to Longao's request, they would die. If they agreed to Longao's request, the Heaven-Devouring Empire wouldn't let them off. In the face of life and death, they would still choose Longao. The only way was to find a way to go into hiding. To be safe, Hao Chun and Hao Feng ordered all the core disciples to leave the Heaven-Devouring Plane as quickly as possible. They were smart enough to think that the most dangerous place was the safest place. However, this move obviously didn't work. Soon, the two of them were caught by Shenzhua and brought back to the Heaven Cord sect. Your Majesty, we know we were wrong. Please let us go. As they were the territory ancestors of the starry sky, they were the supreme existences in this vast universe. No matter where they went, they were always superior. But now the two of them were like stray dogs, wagging their tails and begging the Heaven-Devouring Empire to spare them. Tell me everything that happened in detail. Otherwise, I will kill all the core disciples of the Heaven Music sect, no matter where they go. I won't leave a single one alive. Leave no one alive. If someone else had said this, the two of them might have doubted it. Only Shunting's body began to tremble. Chunting definitely had the strength to do so. No matter what, Chunting was the emperor of the Heaven-Devouring Empire. With a single order from him, all the forces in the world would have to obey him. At that time, the core disciples of the sect would have nowhere to hide. He sighed deeply in his heart. The two of them cursed Longao fiercely in their hearts. Of all the people he could find, he just had to find them. In front of them was Longao, and behind them was the Heaven-Devouring Empire. They were stuck between a rock and a hard place. Not daring to hide anything from Zhang Xian, he recounted everything that had happened previously in detail. You mean to say that your mistake this time was caused by Longao's threats? Wasn't that the case? Since they were going to die anyway, the two of them hardened their hearts. Hao Chun nodded and said, Your Majesty, you're an ambitious person. There's no need for us to say more about your grand plans. I believe your Majesty will make the decision. Impudent! Chunting waved his hand and stopped the angry Shenzhua. He smiled and said, The two of you are talented. I have neglected you previously. Now let me ask you. Are you willing to join my Heaven-Devouring Empire and become elders? Looking at Chunting, the two of them were dumbfounded. They didn't know what the emperor meant. Under normal circumstances, Chunting should have killed the two of them. However, not only did Chunting not do anything, he even wanted them to join his empire. What was going on? Was Chunting going to let bygones be bygones? Although they hadn't interacted with Chunting before, they believed that no one would tolerate such a thing. Hao Chun and Hao Feng glanced at each other. They didn't know what Chunting meant. Under such circumstances, should they agree or not? Are the two of you not willing to join? We're willing. We're very willing. Thank you, Your Majesty. They were already lucky that they didn't die. There was no harm in joining the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Until now, the two of them still couldn't figure out why Chen-Ting would do this. Right now, the two of them were like meat on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Do you know that Longao is currently in the Heaven Chord sect? It's just that we can't lock onto his location. I heard that your Heaven Chord sect has a super formation. I wonder if you can activate it? So that was the case. The two of them weren't fools. They instantly understood why Chen-Ting didn't kill them and allowed them to enter his empire. It wasn't because he was soft-hearted, but because of their sect's formation. Since things had already developed to this point, how could they not activate the formation? Since things had already developed to this point, they could only blame themselves. Hao Chun said, "Your Majesty, although the Heaven Chord formation is incomparably powerful, it's still unknown if it can lock onto Longao's location." Hao Chen wasn't completely confident in this point. If it was anyone else, they would definitely be able to lock onto Longao's location. Only a madman like Longao could escape from the seal of 3 titled world kings. Could they lock onto his location? If you can lock onto Longao's location, you will be heavily rewarded. If you can't, Chen-Ting didn't continue because the meaning of his words was clear. Hao Chen and Hao Feng knew what Chen-Ting meant. They cursed in their hearts. They had seen shameless people before, but they had never seen someone as shameless as Chen-Ting. However, the two of them couldn't do anything about it. After all, Chen-Ting's strength and status were too high. The two of them didn't say anything else and slowly retreated. The matter of the Heavenly Chord sect had already spread throughout the heaven-devouring plain. Everyone had thought that Chen-Ting would kill Hao Chun and Huang Xiaolong. Who would have thought that not only did Chen-Ting not kill them, but he even allowed them to join the heaven-devouring empire? What exactly happened? Could it be that traitors were popular now? Many people couldn't figure it out. They were all shocked by Chen-Ting and the heaven-devouring empire's decision. They didn't know if the heaven-devouring empire had taken the wrong medicine. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.